A girl is a sleep aid streamer. After successfully hypnotizing herself, she transmigrates into the body of a maid responsible for serving the emperor. Will she be able to find her way home amid the same routine, day after day? The girl puts on elaborate earrings and applies delicate makeup. Today, she has dressed up as her favorite novel heroine. She is very pleased with herself. The girl then prepares to start her live stream. Her name is Shun Qingya, a sleep aid streamer who runs her own channel. The character she is playing today is the dark version of the heroine who appears on the cover of this novel. Her live stream content consists of reading books aloud to her audience. Shun Qingya slowly begins to speak, her tone gentle and soft. Back then, I had absolutely no idea what kind of person she was, or what was going on in her mind. His name was Karl, the fifth-generation emperor of the Marseille Empire. His full name, Carlos Marseille, and he had a secret that his wife Luna de Frank, knew nothing about. He had long been tormented by insomnia. No medicine, no magic could cure it, and the solution he chose was to summon maids to serve him through the night until he was utterly exhausted. The one serving him was not me. Whether Karl ever exhausted himself, she didn't know, but it seemed like the streamer herself was about to be exhausted. She had only read a short passage, and already Shun Qingya felt dizzy, as if she might fall asleep any second. The viewers exclaimed that the streamer was a walking lullaby. She was nearly hypnotizing herself, but she was supposed to be working, so she couldn't let this happen. Shun Qingya shook her head, trying to snap herself back to alertness. But before long, her eyes began to glaze over. She didn't know why she was so drowsy today. The next second, her world began to spin until she closed her eyes. But not long after, Shun Qingya gradually came to and opened her eyes. Just as she was about to apologize to her viewers for falling asleep on the job, she sensed something was wrong. She found herself being carried on the backs of two people dressed as soldiers. The bizarre scene filled her with panic. She immediately screamed and struggled, demanding that the soldiers let her go. But the next second, a soldier covered her mouth and told her to keep quiet. Indeed, another girl was being dragged out beside her. She had absolutely no idea what was going on. Just moments ago, she had clearly been in the middle of a live stream. She couldn't help but wonder, was she dreaming? Soon, the soldiers carried them both to a door. The maid at the door seemed to recognize her, but addressed her as Miss Sophia. She also said that today was their first time serving, so she needed to go over some important rules. In short, no making a sound without His Highness's permission, no making any movements, and unconditional obedience to His Majesty's commands. Shun Qingya was completely lost. What on earth? Who was Sophia? Who was His Highness? And what was this obscure term serving the night? The maid then handed Shun Qingya something, indicating that if anything seemed off with His Majesty, she should use it immediately, at which point Marquis Rhodes would come at once. The great doors then slowly opened, and the two of them were ushered inside. Shut up. At that moment, a vessel came hurling toward them. The shattered glass cut Shun Qingya's face, and before her stood a man. Was this not the breathtaking tyrant himself? Carlos Marseille, the one readers called the Mad Butcher, the scum of humanity. Karl was done for. Though Karl's behavior was utterly outrageous, the author had still gifted him with extraordinarily striking looks. No matter how awful Karl was, it didn't change the fact that he was devastatingly handsome. His was a beauty that no one in the world could ever capture in words. Only then did Shun Qingya realize she seemed to have transmigrated, but she thought back to the passage she had read just minutes ago. Every night, Karl would summon maids whose names he didn't even know. If you're going to transmigrate into a book, shouldn't you at least become the heroine? Why on earth had she ended up as some nameless background maid who served the night? Just then, Karl looked over at Anne, who was weeping uncontrollably beside them. Karl found the endless sobbing intensely irritating. It was getting on his nerves. But the more fiercely he glared at Anne, the louder she cried. Karl grabbed her and yanked her up and was terrified and kept pleading for mercy. But hearing her pleas only made Karl more furious. She had clearly come here to attach herself to him, just to get a meal ticket, and she wouldn't even behave. He raised his hand, about to strike Anne. But Shun Qingya, ever the impulsive assistant streamer, couldn't stand by and watch. Her hand moved before her brain could catch up. She grabbed Karl's raised hand. But when she turned around, she realized, was she out of her mind? She needed to run now. Yet Karl found himself intrigued by this audacious girl. How dare you tell me to stop? Do you know who you're talking to? You must be tired of living. as Carl kept advancing. Shen Qingya had no choice but to keep apologizing and retreating. But soon she backed up the bed, hit the edge, and fell flat onto it. Wasn't this the worst possible situation? She had basically served herself up on a platter. But wait, she remembered the alarm device the maid had given her. But clearly Carl wasn't going to give her the chance. He gestured for her to stop struggling uselessly. Staring at the looming figure drawing ever closer, Shen Qingya was utterly desperate. She could only cry out, "I'm sorry, Your Highness." Carl paused and stopped moving. Carl suddenly asked, "Why are you here?" Seeing that Carl was suddenly willing to listen to her, Shen Qingya thought she had moved him. So she began spinning a story at length, just as if she were doing a live stream, her voice soft and soothing. Carl simply watched her, expressionless, but told her to keep going. Shen Qingya had no choice but to keep making up the story. But as she went on, before long Carl keeled over, his heavy body collapsing right on top of Shen Qingya. Shen Qingya didn't dare make a sound. Wasn't Carl supposed to have severe insomnia? And yet he'd fallen asleep just like that. Still, Shen Qingya couldn't help thinking. Carl was really heavy. Trapped in this helpless situation, she didn't dare make a sound and didn't dare move. But gazing at that exquisitely handsome face so close to hers, Shen Qingya couldn't help swallowing hard, her imagination running wild. But she quickly snapped back to her senses. She must be losing her mind. She knew full well what a terrible tyrant Carl was. Sure, his insomnia was what made him so volatile and short-tempered. But killing maids just because he couldn't sleep? You really are the worst. Maybe she should escape while he was asleep. Just as Shen Qingya thought of this, Carl happened to roll over. This was her chance. Now was the moment. But the very next second, Carl pulled her into his arms. "Don't go. Don't leave me." Unable to move, Shen Qingya could only pray desperately that she would wake up back in reality. The following morning, a man carrying a staff was slowly making his way toward Carl's bedchamber. This man was none other than Marquis Rhodes, whom the maid had mentioned earlier. The Marquis took out a gem, supposedly capable of saving the maids. It must not be discovered. The Marquis murmured to himself. One day, out of nowhere, the Emperor had developed strange symptoms. From that point on, the Emperor was no longer the man he once was. He had become a brutal and violent person. As a result, the maids who served His Majesty at night were being injured one after another. Yet the Emperor himself had no awareness of his own condition. Strangely, though, it seemed nothing had gone wrong tonight. The Marquis then pushed open the bedroom door. But the sight before him left the Marquis utterly stunned. The Emperor was actually holding a maid in his arms, sleeping peacefully. How could this be? The commotion woke the two of them from their sleep. They looked at each other, because the face was simply too beautiful. Shen Qingya couldn't help but close her eyes. But the next second, she was kicked off the bed. She glared at Carl resentfully. Normally, in a situation like this, shouldn't he be the one screaming and pushing her away? The Marquis couldn't help but ask what on earth had happened, and also express concern for Shen Qingya, though she called her Sophia. At this point, Carl picked up a blanket and tossed it onto Shen Qingya. But the very next second, Carl pointed toward the door and told everyone to get out. Left with no choice, the old Marquis had to push the two of them toward the exit, away from Carl's bedchamber. The Marquis brought the maids to his own room. Since they hadn't called for him the night before, he had assumed the night had passed without incident. He hadn't expected something like this to have happened. The Marquis then noticed that Shen Qingya's face was cut. He cast a spell, and the wound on her face quickly healed. The Marquis said that under no circumstances could His Majesty see them injured. That was why he had given them the magical device in the first place. Only then did Shen Qingya realize that pink stone was actually a magical tool. And also thanked Sophia. Then she asked Shen Qingya, had she really slept with His Majesty last night? Shen Qingya knew she had to admit it. Yes, they had slept together, but nothing had happened to her. The two of them were instantly stunned. It was then that Shen Qingya finally thought to ask, "By the way, old man, who are you?" Meanwhile, on the Emperor's side, he was trying to recall everything that had happened the night before. But he couldn't remember anything. It seemed he had lost his memory again. Carl felt something had been off lately. He was clearly awake, yet couldn't remember what he had done. Especially at night. When he tried to recall, there was often nothing but a blank. He had assumed it was an after effect of his insomnia. But then, an image of that girl suddenly surfaced in his mind. He felt a sudden chill and sat up in bed. It was only then that he realized his head didn't ache. His back didn't hurt. It was almost unbelievable. His body wasn't sore at all. In fact, he felt positively light. In the 3 years since his coronation, he had been plagued by insomnia. At most, he could sleep 2 hours a week. And even on the rare occasion he did fall asleep, he would wake up feeling utterly drained. Yet today, Carl felt remarkably refreshed. Feeling invigorated throughout his entire body, Carl felt as though the whole world had brightened around him. It had been years since he had woken to a morning feeling this clear and alive. But he quickly caught himself. What was he doing? He had almost let the entire empire know that His Majesty had slept soundly through the night. He couldn't afford to do that just yet. He began to wonder what had happened to him. Then it suddenly occurred to him. Could it be because of that woman who had slept beside him? But he quickly dismissed the idea. This was an insomnia that every doctor and magician had failed to cure. How could sleeping beside one woman for a single night possibly fix it? And yet, this truly was the first good night's sleep he'd had in 3 years. What if it really was that woman's doing? That afternoon, the Marquis came to the Emperor's door and requested an audience. Seeing that the Emperor wasn't responding, he was about to force the door open. Fortunately, Carl eventually opened the door, albeit with an angry roar. The very first thing the Marquis said upon entering was, "You're not thinking of making that person the Empress, are you?" Hearing this, Carl's expression instantly darkened. "What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Your Majesty, there's no use trying to hide it. Didn't you two share a bed last night? If that maid were to become pregnant, because of this, things would get very complicated." But the Marquis thoughtfully added that he had already come up with a solution on His Majesty's behalf. But Carl, ever unpredictable, said, "Then just drive her out. Didn't you say things might get complicated? Then send her away." The Marquis was left speechless. He could only urge the Emperor 3 times that this was too extreme. At the very least, she deserved a chance to live. Faced with this Marquis whose game he couldn't figure out, Carl was visibly irritated. But he sat down nonetheless. Seeing that His Majesty said nothing, the Marquis spoke up. "All right then, just drive her out." But the very next second, Carl opened his mouth and ordered the Marquis to bring the person to his bedchamber immediately. The Marquis was left completely dumbfounded. Meanwhile, on Shun Qingya's side, she was piecing together the information she had gathered in this world. That old man's name was Rhodes. He was the Emperor's guard magician and the most powerful magician in the Empire. But perhaps because he wasn't a major character, there was no detailed description of him in the novel. Judging solely from the fact that he would come to the aid of the maids, Shun Qingya had a decent impression of him. Shun Qingya turned to look at herself in the mirror. She found that the person she had transmigrated into, Sophia, was strikingly beautiful. Then, inside a drawer on the table, she discovered a pocket watch and a letter. The photograph inside the pocket watch was presumably Sophia's mother. But the letter was a vicious document severing all parental ties, essentially telling Sophia to become a kept woman and never come home, because she was worthless. Shun Qingya was instantly overcome with despair, because she remembered Sophia was destined to die at the tyrant's hands. She was the older sister of the heroine Luna, the sister who supposedly disappeared in the novel. In truth, she hadn't disappeared at all. Her own father had offered her to the tyrant, which was what led to her death. Shun Qingya did not want to die here. With that, she began to go through the plot from the beginning. When Carl was 8 years old, the Empire's imperial consort, that is, Carl's mother, passed away from illness. After he came of age, his father, the Emperor, also died from an unknown and terrible disease. Later, the Empress and his older brother, Crown Prince Mattia, also passed away one after another. After that, Carl ascended to the throne and suddenly became a tyrant. Shun Qingya decided her best course of action was to escape first and figure out the rest later. Just then, a guard suddenly burst in, saying His Majesty was asking for Sophia and that she needed to come along. Shun Qingya panicked completely. She had no idea what this tyrant intended to do to her. Before long, she was brought before Carl. Carl asked her what her name was. She had no choice but to answer that she was Sophia. Carl slowly replied, "Very well. You have my permission." "What on earth are you talking about, you tyrant? This is an imperial decree. I command you to put me to sleep once more. If you fail to do so, I will send you to the chopping block." With that, Carl began to undress. Shun Qingya was extremely nervous, thinking Carl meant to have his way with her. Seeing Sophia still standing there in a daze, Carl grabbed her and pressed her down onto the bed, telling her to hurry up and begin. Sophia thought of something she was proud of, something she was particularly skilled at. She asked Carl to get off her. Fortunately, Karl complied. She then began to tell him a story, one of her award-winning works. The young girl shed burning tears. The shards of mirror lodged in the young boy's heart, melted like snowflakes in the girl's tears. Before long, Karl drifted off into slumber. Gazing at Karl's sleeping face, Sophia couldn't help but marvel. When he was asleep, he looked just like a child. If only he weren't a tyrant, he would practically be an angel. But now wasn't the time to be thinking about that. She needed to escape. But the balcony was too high, and there were knights standing guard outside. So she chose to go through the front door instead. But the moment she opened the door, the Marquis was there, eavesdropping. Shun Xingya began to wonder what exactly he was doing here. The Marquis hurriedly explained that he had rushed over out of concern for Sophia's well-being. He then gave Sophia another gemstone. This one read, and told her that if anything happened, she could use it to call on him for help. Sophia hesitantly accepted the gemstone and was then ushered back to the dormitory by the Marquis. At that moment, Sophia sensed something. The Marquis hadn't come simply out of concern for her. There was more to it than that. In the maids' dining hall of the Marseille Imperial Palace, the maids were gossiping behind her back. The emperor actually hadn't driven away the maid who had served him before, and today had even personally summoned that same maid again. The source of all these rumors was this seemingly innocent woman named Ro. Meanwhile, Karl had also come to. He found himself feeling no discomfort whatsoever, no headache. It seemed that woman truly could put him to sleep. But only then did he realize he had once again stripped off his clothes in front of her. After tidying himself up, Karl was in high spirits and decided to go out for some fresh air. At that point, he ran into the Marquis. The Marquis assumed he hadn't fallen asleep and was momentarily flustered. But Karl said he had slept very well, and now he was certain this woman was the only person who could put him to sleep. The Marquis grew curious about what method Sophia had used. Karl felt too embarrassed to say. He couldn't very well admit she had just told him story. Meanwhile, Sophia was feeling rather despondent. The maids had originally taken turns serving. Now it seemed she had been singled out. At this rate, she would sooner or later die at Karl's hands. Just then, a woman warned her to be careful. Falling out of the window would be a real problem. That woman was Ro. Sophia was curious how Ro knew who she was. Ro said there was probably no one in the palace who didn't know. The first maid to have caught His Majesty's continued attention. Miss Sophia. Hearing that, Sophia laughed bitterly. You mean the envy and the murderous glares, right? Ro then told Sophia not to mind the rumors and took her leave. A classic green tea act. But right after that, the Marquis came looking for Sophia again. He had even prepared refreshments for her. It turned out he hoped Sophia would be willing to coax His Majesty to sleep every night from now on. He said His Majesty had already told him that Sophia possessed some mysterious power. He also offered a generous sum of 500 gold coins. Hearing that number, Sophia was stunned. That was 2 years' worth of income from her streaming career. Even if she was a slave to capitalism, she wasn't so easily lured in. Right now, she was the only person in the entire empire who could put His Majesty to sleep. And the Marquis seemed afraid that Sophia would refuse this task. But Sophia turned it down anyway, because she knew that only by refusing would she have any chance of escaping. But the very next second, the Marquis raised his staff and warned Sophia that this was an imperial decree. Even so, Sophia firmly refused. Hearing this, the Marquis was at a loss. He couldn't exactly kill the one person in the world who could put the emperor to sleep. He had no choice but to tell Sophia he would give her time to think it over. But if she persisted in refusing, he would be forced to compel her. After leaving the Marquis's room, Sophia stopped overthinking it. She went straight to the dining hall to eat. But there, she was driven away by the other maids, who called her shameless. Sophia didn't understand. This was her first time meeting them. So why such intense hostility? Perhaps it was because she had spent the past 2 nights in the emperor's bedchamber. Sophia refused to back down. She said if they had a problem, they should say it to her face. What was the point of talking behind her back? But that only provoked an even fiercer round of mockery. There was nothing to be done. Sophia, with no power or influence, found herself being ostracized and didn't want to be troubled any further. She could only warn everyone not to be so unreasonable, especially toward an incoming imperial consort. Meanwhile, the Marquis once again sought out Karl. He could tell Karl seemed to have failed to sleep again. Karl was curious what urgent matter had brought him so early. The Marquis told Karl that rumors about Sophia had already spread throughout the palace. That Sophia had spent the night with His Majesty and was about to become empress. and it seemed the rumor had even come from his own mouth. Carl let out a cold laugh. He hadn't expected Sophia to have such ambitions. But Carl couldn't afford to give up this person who could put him to sleep. Yet he also couldn't allow Sophia to become empress, nor a consort either. In his current position, he could not form a marriage alliance with any noble family. Meanwhile, Sophia saw that the rumors were already spreading wildly. The emperor might very well have her killed. She decided she had to escape before being caught. But the very next second, she was caught. The emperor had summoned Sophia again. "Your Majesty, Your Majesty." That damned Your Majesty again. This time, Carl didn't call her to the bedchamber. It was the study. And his very first words were to tell Sophia to know her place. "You've only spent 2 nights in my bedchamber. Don't think that give you the right to act so presumptuously. I will never make you empress. The only thing I permit you to do is put me to sleep." So it turned out Carl had summoned Sophia simply to put her in her place. But Sophia had only said those things in the first place to avoid stirring up conflict with the other maids. So she spoke up. "I'm afraid, Your Majesty, you may have misunderstood me." "A misunderstanding? You don't seem particularly afraid of me, the tyrant who killed the empress and the crown prince to take the throne, who is currently gripping you by the throat. But they weren't killed by Your Majesty, were they?" Carl fell silent. "I knew it. Your Majesty is not the kind of person who would do such a thing. I have no interest in the position of empress. I will also know my place and stay within my bounds." She meant every word. Seeing this, Carl had nothing more to say, so he dismissed Sophia. After reflecting on it, Carl realized that Sophia seemed quite different from what he had heard. Could it be that the old man had misheard? Carl felt his mind was a complete mess. He was more and more unable to figure out what that woman was thinking. It was clearly a good opportunity for her as well. So why had he refused? Carl was caught in a tangle of conflicting thoughts. She had previously allowed him to touch her and had been quite willing to coax him to sleep. So why had she suddenly changed her attitude? She had even said, "Your Majesty is not the kind of person who would do such a thing." After leaving Carl's study, Sophia decided to hurry back to her room and grab her bag. But just then, a guard suddenly called out to Sophia. Sophia darted left and right, trying to get away. She finally made it back to her room and grabbed her backpack. She had to escape before everyone finished their meal. But as she ran into soldiers again. She didn't want to be caught here, so she looked out the window. She figured it wasn't that high up, and she couldn't afford to delay any longer. The next second, she leapt out, but the situation was nothing like she had imagined. Why was it so high? Just at that moment, a figure appeared and caught Sophia in his arms. At the same time, the Marquis used magic to shield them both. By the time they landed, Sophia had already passed out. It was only then that Carl noticed. Why was she so soft? Every time he had touched a woman before, he had only ever felt revulsion. At that moment, Sophia also came back to her senses. But upon realizing she was being held in Carl's arms, she shoved him away. Carl then coldly questioned her. Why'd she jump from there? Gazing at that cold yet strikingly handsome face, Sophia couldn't help but straighten his appearance. Only then did she bow and thank Carl. Carl said that if she truly wanted to thank him, then she should work for him. Just then, the Marquis also rushed over and launched into a tirade at Sophia. He scolded her for why she would do such a thing. But Carl stopped the Marquis' outburst. He also told Sophia that from now on, without his permission, she was absolutely not allowed to die. Absolutely not. Sophia was completely bewildered. Why had the Emperor saved her? And why was he forbidding her from dying? He would ultimately end up killing her anyway. Me, who is Luna's older sister. Could it truly be because that I can cure his insomnia? From that day on, Sophia was placed under close surveillance. Whether she was eating, working, or even using the restroom. The other maids learned that His Majesty had dispatched soldiers to protect Sophia, and rumors spread that she was the most likely candidate to become empress. Even and began deliberately avoiding Sophia. Staring out that window, Carl was more and more unable to understand. Why had Sophia jumped from there? Was it because of him? If so, then why had she done all those things? Really couldn't understand the girl. Not long after, Sophia found Carl again. She handed Carl something. It turned out that to repay him for saving her life, she drafted a contract. She promised to help Carl treat his insomnia. It roughly stated that the healer would actively resolve the patient's insomnia, and the patient would actively cooperate. After the patient recovers, he must send the healer out of the imperial palace. The entire process requires a payment of 250 gold coins. Because she wanted to repay him for saving her life, Sophia cut the fee in half. She claimed that after all, the treatment would take some time and energy. Hearing that it would take time and energy, Marquis Rhodes indeed overthought it. In addition, there was a breach of contract clause. If Sophia breached the contract, she would have to offer her life. If Karl breached it, he would have to make Sophia the empress. These were the things both of them resisted the most. But Karl became increasingly unable to figure out what Sophia really wanted. However, for Karl, as long as his insomnia could be cured, there was nothing to hesitate about. And, on the other hand, blamed herself deeply. Although she liked Sophia very much, she was afraid of getting too close to her. She wanted to leave the palace alive, so she tried her best not to be noticed by the emperor. That night, Sophia once again pushed open the door to Karl's room for treatment. But this time, she began to ask about the symptoms of Karl's insomnia. She asked him how long he usually slept, what time he usually woke up, and similar questions. This, however, made Karl very displeased. He wanted to get straight to the point and have her coax him to sleep. Sophia immediately suppressed Karl's temper on the grounds that the patient must actively cooperate with the treatment. After all, he didn't want to end up crowning an empress. Subsequently, amidst Sophia's gentle whispers, Karl fell into a deep sleep once again. However, Karl's exquisite side profile after falling asleep never failed to amaze Sophia, no matter how many times she saw it. Meanwhile, Marquis Rhodes was feeling indignant. That girl was clearly planning to seek death before. How could she be neither haughty nor humble now? But thanks to her, His Majesty's insomnia could be treated. Even though his magic was second to none, a mere maid could share His Majesty's burdens better than he could. He was extremely unwilling to accept it. The reason His Majesty saved Sophia was probably because he remembered what happened that day. People in the palace didn't know how warm and brave Karl's heart was. Then the Marquis felt relieved, because before Karl could sort out his thoughts, he probably wouldn't reveal his warm and brave side. At this time, a guard found a necklace and handed it to the Marquis. He looked at the pattern on this necklace and was extremely shocked. This is absolutely impossible. The Marquis thought to himself. On Karl's side, having slept well, he finally woke up. Everything that happened last night was vivid in his mind. It was the first time he remembered the events of the previous night so clearly. But today his head started to hurt again. Because of the headache, his temper was also very irritable. That night, Sophia came to the emperor's bedside again. But today, Karl seemed to have changed his attitude again. And in his memory, during the first night she served him, Sophia had thrown herself at him. After hearing this, Sophia was very angry. Was he pretending to have amnesia, or was he just thick-skinned? After saying these things, he even called for Sophia to hurry over and coax him to sleep. The next day, and passed by Sophia again without saying a word. Actually, she just didn't want to become too conspicuous. But by doing this, didn't she feel like she was just like those people who badmouth Sophia behind her back every day? Just then, someone was talking about Sophia seducing the emperor, and immediately retorted, how could Sophia seduce His Majesty just to become the empress? Even a quiet and timid and slapped the gossiping woman for this. And at this moment, Sophia also heard the commotion. She hurriedly pulled away from there and returned to the dormitory, wherein finally apologized to Sophia. She felt very guilty for avoiding Sophia during this time. She was truly sorry, because she wanted to leave the palace alive. But she really couldn't stand those people's rumors and gossip about Sophia. Even if Sophia didn't forgive her, it was okay. But Sophia knew and was a very kind person. She had never blamed Anne at all. The two reconciled. Karl was shaking his wine glass, waiting for the hypnotist to arrive. But Sophia snatched the red wine from Karl's hand and ordered that drinking before bed was forbidden from now on. Because with Karl's way of drinking, let alone getting a good night's sleep, he would wake up with a hangover and a headache the next day. Karl helplessly stated that he would go to sleep after finishing the wine in his glass. But unexpectedly, Sophia drank the wine in one gulp. Karl had to obediently lie on the bed, waiting for Sophia to coax him to sleep. Perhaps because he had been drinking, after a short while, Karl once again fell into a baby-like sleep. Sophia, who was about to return to her room, felt the whole floor shaking. She thought it was an earthquake, but it was obvious that she couldn't handle the alcohol. She started to stagger as she walked. Early the next morning, Sophia felt a splitting headache. She didn't expect the red wine to be so strong. And the emperor had meals with such strong wine every day and would even drink a bottle or two before bed. At this time, the Marquis found Sophia. He came to return that pocket watch. He also asked Sophia if she didn't need to go back and visit her family after being in the palace for so long. Sophia suddenly felt that this old Grandpa Marquis was a good person. The Marquis was startled. He didn't expect that he would actually give Sophia such an illusion. Kala was dining. He subconsciously wanted to pick up his wine glass and take a sip, but it was all that woman's fault. He couldn't drink red wine during his meals anymore. so he reached for the black tea on the side. On the third day after quitting drinking, Sophia couldn't help but admire the emperor. He was almost drinking himself to alcohol poisoning before, and now he had just quit as soon as he said so. But today's Carl couldn't fall asleep no matter what, and he felt his heart beating very fast. Sophia then noticed that there was actually a pile of teacups on the table. She immediately questioned Carl loudly about who told him to drink black tea like this. Carl retorted, "Didn't you forbid me from drinking alcohol?" Carl's hands even started to tremble. It turned out that trying to replace alcohol with black tea caused Carl to suffer from caffeine poisoning. So Carl wouldn't be able to fall asleep today. But Sophia still decided that she would wait there until Carl fell asleep. The next day, Sophia decided to take Carl's alcohol withdrawal slowly. Carl thought he could have 1 glass a day. Who knew Sophia stated 1 glass every 3 days? The dissatisfied Carl was just about to protest, but was stopped by Sophia's contract threat. He swallowed his protest back into his stomach. That night, Sophia turned off the lights. It took a full 3 hours to coax Carl to sleep. But the sleeping Carl suddenly started tossing and turning, biting his lip and revealing a pained expression. Sophia didn't dare to wake him up because getting Carl to fall back to sleep would definitely be very difficult. So she started singing a lullaby. In his dream, Carl was calling out, "Rhodes, why didn't you come to save me? He didn't want to die here." At this moment, a melodious and beautiful singing voice came, untying the ropes binding Carl in his dream. Carl listened to this singing voice entranced. It sounded like his mother's voice. In reality, he also shed tears. Seeing this scene, Sophia couldn't help but remember that Carl was also someone who had lost his parents. And Sophia had also lost her parents when she was young. Could it be that he couldn't bear the pain because of this and became a tyrant? At this time, Carl rolled over, revealing his back and a large scar. Sophia was surprised. How could Carl have such a wound on his body? At this moment, at the Frank mansion, after learning that the emperor had taken an interest in Sophia, Count Frank was very displeased. After all, if he sent his illegitimate daughter to the emperor as a bedmaid, it would be very troublesome if the word got out. He decided to resolve this matter. On the Marquis's side, he was preparing to wake up His Majesty to attend the Autumn Harvest Festival meeting. But he found that His Majesty was already fully dressed and waiting for him, and it seemed that his whole demeanor had become gentler. 2 maids were gossiping behind their backs, but were stopped by a girl. And this girl was exactly the one among the bedmaids who was most likely to become the empress or imperial consort. Marquis Turang's youngest daughter, Eva, but she was overshadowed by Sophia from the rural, noble Frank family. Her mood couldn't possibly be anything but terrible. At the Autumn Harvest Festival meeting, just when everyone thought the emperor would not attend, as usual, he arrived with an imposing stride. And as soon as he arrived, he showed them who was boss. But actually, in this novel, the Autumn Harvest Festival was a symbol of tragedy and revenge. In the first part, Luna confessed her feelings to Carl on the night of the Autumn Harvest Festival and was abandoned. And in the second part, Luna chose to dance with a warm-hearted male supporting character to get revenge on Carl. And at this moment, Sophia was picking out jewels with an anxious heart. And she wasn't picking jewels for herself. Although maids were usually responsible for serving the emperor, during the Autumn Harvest Festival, they also had to help the noble ladies of the palace dress up and chat with them. When Sophia carefully picked out a gemstone necklace for a noble lady, the lady thought that this necklace seemed more suitable for Sophia. She also told her that during the Autumn Harvest Festival, there was a tradition of nobles and maids picking out accessories for each other. Just like that, Sophia inexplicably put on the necklace she had picked out and attended the Autumn Harvest Festival. But she was surprised to find that everyone was staring at her. Then the noble lady next to her immediately changed her face, accusing Sophia of wearing ruby jewelry on such a day. Don't you know that at the Autumn Harvest Festival, only the royal family can wear ruby jewelry? At this time, Eva slowly walked out, echoing the noble lady to accuse Sophia, and even called the noble lady mother. Sophia finally realized that she had been set up by them, with the two echoing each other's accusations. The young ladies from various families attending the festival also began to gossip about Sophia behind her back. But having done nothing wrong, Sophia was not afraid. It wasn't like she didn't have a mouth. Was she afraid of a quarrel? Just as she was about to take off the necklace and go into shrew mode, she was stopped by a figure behind her. And the person who stopped her was actually Emperor Carl. Carl directly smashed a bottle of red wine and poured the wine over the noble lady's head. Just because the noble lady said Sophia had won Carl's favor. But no woman could ever get even a bit of a good look from him, because Carl hated all the women in the world. But Sophia was different. She was a tool for Carl, and a very handy one at that. Much better than those who mocked others' pain. Then, Carl unexpectedly took Sophia's hand and left the banquet hall. Afterwards, Carl brought Sophia to a bench in the courtyard, and he had never brought anyone here before, because this was Carl's secret base where he wanted to be alone. But today, he was finally no longer alone. At this moment, Sophia suddenly saw a shooting star streak across the night sky and shouted excitedly. Sophia told Carl that if he made a wish upon a shooting star, his wish would come true. Carl looked disdainful, but he really did have a wish. However, he was unwilling to tell Sophia, and his wish was to make this woman unable to leave the imperial palace. And Sophia's wish was to bless her to successfully escape the imperial palace. Another shooting star streaked across the sky. Sophia exclaimed that it seemed the heavens had heard their wishes. Early the next morning, the Marquis came running to question Carl. Because of his actions, this year's Autumn Harvest Festival had ended abruptly. Moreover, knowing full well that the woman was Marchioness Turong, Carl still poured wine over her head. Facing the Marquis's continuous questioning, Carl stated that it didn't matter how others viewed him, but the Marquis alone should believe in him. Carl expressed that he would handle this matter well. He wanted to make the Turong family's youngest daughter enter the palace. Then Carl demanded to arrange 3 Imperial Palace magicians for Sophia. At the subsequent meeting, Carl hadn't even announced the end of the meeting, when Marquis Turong on the side stated that the meeting could pretty much end here. Carl was furious. Before he even spoke, he wanted to announce the end of the meeting. Carl directly announced stripping Marquis Turong of his ambassadorial position and demoting him to Viscount. Marquis Turong questioned what he meant by this. The ones who were insulted were me and my wife. That woman wearing a ruby necklace was simply audacious. And it's one thing that you poured red wine all over my wife and kicked her out of the palace. But how could you treat me like this? Carl just faintly retorted, asking when our empire had ever had such a law. Just because of this absurd rule. That woman who belongs to me as my property was subjected to all kinds of difficulties and insults. Insulting what is mine is equivalent to insulting me. You better obediently step down. The fact that I haven't chopped off your head is already me being magnanimous. With a strike of his sword, he slashed Turong's collar. Turong was immediately so frightened that he fell to his knees. And Carl knew very well how Turong had risen to power. He was warning everyone. If anyone dared to challenge the imperial authority in the future, he would show absolutely no mercy. But Turong was extremely unconvinced in his heart. He would never let this go. The next day, the two who were just about to go for a walk encountered the two-faced row. All the previous rumors had come from her hands. Now she told Sophia not to be so guarded against her. Her purpose for coming was to tell Sophia that Miss Turong was kicked out of the palace by the emperor's order. And the Turong family was no longer a Marquis family, but was demoted to Viscount. Hearing this, Sophia felt a little panicked. Unknowingly, she had actually changed the plot. Sophia was curious. Why did she tell her this? Rose stated that it was just because misery loves company, and she just wanted to help Sophia. Then she took her leave. But Sophia's intuition told her that this woman definitely had some other purpose. After Ro left, another group of maids came. They shamelessly apologized one by one, saying they were momentarily blinded by jealousy. Then they kept comforting Sophia. These people could be called utterly shameless. Fortunately, Sophia still had and by her side, but she also felt the difficulty of her current situation. Although she was very grateful to Carl for saving her, he had pushed her to the forefront of the storm. At this moment, in a small city in the eastern part of the empire, Viscount Turong knocked on a door. He wanted to see someone, but the other person told him that he was not here right now, and if there was anything, he could pass on the message. After Turong left, he appeared in the alley. He had heard what Turong said, but he didn't want to bother with Turong, because he no longer had any use value. But he heard Sophia's name. The man smiled and said he didn't expect it to be related to the White Killer. Things are starting to get interesting. That night, Sophia, who came to coax him to sleep as usual, asked about Carl kicking the maid out of the palace. And the reason she asked was because she was afraid of some strange rumors spreading between His Majesty and her. But Carl felt it didn't matter. Rumors are just rumors. Could it be that Sophia hated him so much that she couldn't even accept rumors? Sophia had to explain that if she angered the nobles, she might lose her life. She didn't want to die right now. Carl told her not to worry. Before his insomnia was cured, he wouldn't let Sophia die. Afterwards, he again urged Sophia to hurry and coax him to sleep. Waking up the next day, Carl felt his mind was clear. But facing Sophia's inquiry, he only said it was SOSO. But actually, that wasn't what he wanted to say at all. That afternoon, Carl, who was handling official business, was restless. He turned his head to look out the window. It seemed there had just been a magical vibration. The space inside and outside the Imperial Palace was mutually distorted. Generally speaking, looking through the window, one could only see scenery with indistinguishable distances. Through the vibration of the magic enveloping the entire palace, what Carl saw in the window was actually Sophia. The scenery could change instantly. In the afternoon, while Carl was practicing swordsmanship, he accidentally saw Sophia whispering with a knight. After returning to his room, Carl finally discovered that the reason Sophia was whispering with the knight was to have the knight deliver this letter to him. Learning that Sophia would come early today, Carl immediately stood up and went out to look for Sophia. Sophia picked some flowers and plant for Carl, called lilacs. The scent of this flower could help with sleep. At the meeting a week after the end of the Autumn Harvest Festival, the ministers were all asking when he planned to appoint a new ambassador to fill the vacancy. The head of the magician family Seal, Duke Joyd Seal, asked Carl, "Is it true that you want to make your favorite maid the empress?" Afterwards, the various ministers started questioning him with all sorts of questions. At this time, the imperial high-level noble forces were divided into two factions. That is, the conservative magician faction and the bloodline knight faction. A long time ago, when the monsters that even the sword saint couldn't defeat appeared in the world, it was the magicians who stepped forward and suppressed those monsters. But since then, the monsters disappeared. Therefore, people's demand for magicians became lower and lower. Eventually, an emperor who was not a magician ascended the throne. That emperor was Carl's grandfather, Marsai the Fourth Emperor, and the magician faction that wanted to revive the glory of magicians formed a standoff with the knight faction that wanted to continue the glory of knights. Just as the ministers were arguing endlessly, Carl smashed his wine glass. He couldn't give them the answers they wanted. Therefore, they would just have to meet again at the next meeting. Returning to his office, Carl thought of Sophia's words. "Because I'm afraid of strange rumors spreading between His Majesty and me, so I won't get close to you anymore in the future. If I upset the nobles, I might lose my life at any time. I don't want to die right now." Carl was considering that if this continued, let alone that woman, even Carl himself would be in danger. Then he summoned the Marquis. He actually went to a jewelry store late at night, asking to make something. He also asked the Marquis to turn this gemstone into a magic item for protection, and he wanted it done by tomorrow. The next morning, Sophia received a gift. It was actually a dress gifted by the emperor. He also wanted her to go to the Marsai Hall after putting it on. Subsequently, Sophia put on the dress as requested and came to the door of the hall. Inside, Carl was holding a meeting. Inside, Carl announced that the ambassador's position would be temporarily left vacant. The ministers discussed animatedly, but Carl warned them, "Don't forget that he is the emperor." Then Carl issued the second imperial edict. Just then, Sophia walked in. The emperor appointed Sophia as the emperor's exclusive insomnia therapist. Considering her merits and treatment, she was granted a special knight title. After the edict was issued, it caused a commotion. At this time, Carl took out the crafted magic item and gave it to Sophia, and stated that from now on, no one could insult Sophia. From now on, Sophia is no longer a maid, but a knight with an official title. Anyone who slanders her or him will be severely punished according to the law. Hearing this, Sophia was very moved. If Carl had been like this in the original story, she wouldn't have had to worry so much. After the meeting ended, the Marquis brought Sophia to a room. Inside the room was the knight who had been waiting for a long time, and from now on, he would be Sophia's guard. And this room was Sophia's room, used to offset the contract fee. Moreover, it was His Majesty's order and must be accepted. Sophia couldn't understand why Carl did this, but at least it would be safer now. A boy stopped a girl. He asked her to look at today's newspaper. Published on the newspaper was impressively the one who became the emperor's insomnia therapist, Sophia. And Sophia was exactly the older sister of this girl, whom everyone in the academy knew. The next morning, Sophia came to Carl's room early. Carl was very satisfied to see Sophia wearing the dress he gifted her. He couldn't help but admire his own taste. But Sophia bluntly stated that she didn't dress like this for anyone. She just simply felt that dressing like this wouldn't be looked down upon by others. Karl was completely helpless against this audacious woman who talked back to the emperor. What surprised him even more was that Sophia actually wanted him to release those bedmaids from the imperial palace. Actually, Karl didn't want those women to serve him in the first place. And the reason he let Sophia serve him was because, for some unknown reason, he felt very comfortable being with Sophia. The atmosphere suddenly became a bit ambiguous. Sophia also didn't expect Karl to say this. Seeing that the atmosphere seemed wrong, Karl immediately explained that he just didn't see Sophia as a woman. Sophia felt that couldn't be better. Then Sophia stated that as long as he let them leave the palace, they would definitely be endlessly grateful to Karl, just like her. Hearing this, Karl's face suddenly darkened. Just like you. He became curious. Then Sophia, are you my person? Sophia immediately stated that she was of course on Karl's side. She was Karl's therapist after all. Hearing this, Karl's mood seemed to improve a lot. That night, Sophia once again came to Karl's room to coax him to sleep. Within a few seconds, Karl fell asleep. But strangely, Sophia seemed to have entered the state she was in on the day of her live stream again. As she spoke, she once again coaxed herself to sleep. Karl had already started dreaming. In the dream, a voice kept suppressing him, questioning him if he still thought that someone in this world would stand by his side. Father, mother, and his most trusted older brother. Maybe the one they hated the most was Karl. Karl kept telling himself that this was just a dream. The next second, he woke up with a start. Only then did he realize that Sophia, who was supposed to coax him to sleep, had actually fallen asleep beside him. Karl thought to himself, anyway, she would leave on her own after she woke up. He just needed to continue sleeping. But he thought of what Sophia had said in the morning. Karl couldn't help but look at this thin and weak figure. She looked too small. Did she really eat well? Thinking of this, Karl couldn't fall asleep anymore. He simply sat up. He was somewhat at a loss. However, just as Sophia was about to slide off the bed, Karl reached out and caught her. Who knew? The sleeping Sophia naturally hugged Karl in return. The next day, Sophia woke up in Karl's bed. She saw Karl on the sofa and only then realized she had fallen asleep in Karl's bed again. She quickly apologized and then slipped away just like that. But Karl stopped her. Since she had slept in his bed, he was going to make Sophia pay the price. And this price was to have Sophia bring his breakfast in and then eat it. Such an expensive price, even the editor wants to have it. Although she didn't know why Karl suddenly made her eat his breakfast. But after Sophia tasted it, she couldn't be bothered to think about it. She also went from taking small bites at first to feasting heartily. However, Karl, sitting to the side, actually laughed out loud upon seeing Sophia like this. Sophia was also very surprised because this was the first time she had seen Karl smile. He looked somewhat handsome. The next day, the Marquis came to the office to report on the search and casually asked for 2 days off. Karl knew that tomorrow was the death anniversary of Rhodes's daughter, so he agreed to the Marquis's request. At this moment, the Marquis suddenly noticed that there were actually residual traces of magic on Karl's body. What Rhodes saw was a residual trace that only a very special and powerful magic would leave behind. Perhaps that magician possessed an even more special ability than his. It seemed the Marquis had one more thing to investigate. That day, Sophia was about to change the vases in Karl's room, but she bumped into someone in the corridor. It was actually an old lady, and this kind old lady was actually Marquis Rhodes's wife. Sophia immediately became respectful. After all, the Marquis had taken good care of her. At this time, a guard reported that someone wanted to see Sophia. However, when Sophia saw the person clearly, her body instinctively trembled. Sophia then realized, could the person in front of her be the one who sent Sophia into the palace? Sophia's father? And Sophia didn't know what the man in front of her had actually done to his daughter, causing her body to be so terrified of her father. Her father expressed that he wanted to have a chat with Sophia. At this moment, the Marchioness stepped forward. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Frank, she pulled Sophia away from there. The Count's face turned gloomy, but out of respect for the Marchioness, he couldn't say much. Sophia was a bit confused as to why the Marchioness wanted to save her. It turned out that the Marchioness had keenly observed Sophia's body trembling uncontrollably. Although she didn't know what had happened to Sophia, the Marchioness couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Hearing this, Sophia was deeply moved. Afterward, the two came before the Marquis. The Marchioness actually wanted to take Sophia home. The Marquis was a little unhappy because his wife seemed to have forgotten what day it was today. But with a single hubby from his wife, the Marquis was left speechless. Even Sophia could see that in the Rhodes family, it seemed the old lady was the one calling the shots. And the reason his wife wanted Sophia to accompany her was actually that she felt this old man was too boring and she wanted Sophia to chat with her. Just like that, Sophia got into the carriage. It was only then that Sophia realized something. Even if she tried to escape, she wouldn't be able to get out at all. The entrance was guarded by magicians. Only when the magic in their hands lit up with the bridge outside, the castle slowly rise from the bottom of the sea and form a complete bridge. In other words, without a magician, ordinary people had no way out at all. No wonder it was only on special days when banquets were held that outsiders could be seen, which was very rare on ordinary days. The carriage slowly drove into the city. This was also the first time Sophia had come to a town in this world after transmigrating. And Lady Rhodes also invited Sophia to visit their home often. Arriving at the Marquis's mansion, Sophia noticed that the madam really liked pink. It was then that the Marchioness introduced herself. Her name was Meryl. And after Sophia introduced herself, Meryl realized that Sophia was the famous therapist in the palace recently. But even so, Meryl still wanted to call Sophia by her real name, Sophia. She wanted to call Madame Meryl Grandma Meryl. Gaining a granddaughter for free, Meryl gladly accepted. Moreover, since their son passed away, only the two elderly people were left in the family. Now having an extra granddaughter, she was overjoyed. On the other side, Rhodes was staring blankly in the direction of the mansion. He didn't know how the two had met, but it all seemed like destiny, because he hadn't opened Sophia's pendant. But he seemed to have guessed something, he just didn't want to confirm it. Because once his guess came true, he simply couldn't imagine what those two had actually gone through in the Frank family. However, whether it was him or Meryl, they didn't have much time left. Rhodes's daughter and Meryl's son. What exactly happened between them? It would all be revealed at tomorrow's Memorial Day. However, at this moment, the two were chatting in the pavilion. Meryl inadvertently mentioned that Carl had loved flowers since he was a child. To fulfill her son's wish, the imperial consort ordered Marquis Rhodes to create a magic that would keep flowers from ever withering. In the end, Marquis Rhodes created a courtyard that bloomed all year round within 2 years. But it coincided with the death of the imperial consort, so Carl had never been to the courtyard. Although Carl was still young at the time, he had no expression on his face. He didn't even shed a single tear, as if he knew what the imperial consort's death meant. Later, the late emperor died of illness, and the empress and crown prince also passed away one after another. It was then that Sophia realized something was wrong. This was definitely not right. And why did Carl accept all this so calmly? If all this was true, then perhaps everything was not over yet. On the way back later, Meryl took Sophia to a clothing store. After trying on clothes, Sophia received many compliments. Just as she was preparing to buy a mask for the banquet, a red-haired man appeared and said, "Does the young lady want to buy a mask too?" Looking at the man whose looks were not inferior to Carl's at all, Sophia was almost drooling. The man wanted Sophia to help him pick out a mask. This way, every time he wore the mask, he would think of Sophia. Sophia felt this man was strange. But being good at cosplay, Sophia still picked one out from among them. It had to be said that it really suited him. And the man also picked one to give to Sophia as a return gift. At this moment, the man suddenly leaned in, and his purpose for leaning in was actually to praise Sophia's brooch. Then he gloomily told Sophia to be careful and not lose the brooch. Sophia felt a trace of coldness, but this person's exterior was truly that of a greasy and playboy-like man. Returning to the palace, Sophia received a letter. It was left for Sophia by the Count, who was her father. He warned Sophia not to have any unnecessary thoughts. Sophia was nothing more than their bait. Especially, she shouldn't stand in Luna's way. Her existence was a hindrance to Luna. Reading the letter, Sophia trembled all over with anger. How could a father say such vicious words to his child? At night, Sophia came to Carl's room, only to find that Carl had been drinking again, and he had drunk quite a few bottles. Sophia was just about to scold him for drinking without her permission, who knew that Carl was like a completely different person. He bluntly said, "How dare Sophia order the emperor around?" This version of Carl made Sophia feel very unfamiliar and also very scared. Carl reached out and pinched Sophia's neck, but the next second, he collapsed into Sophia's arms. No matter how much Sophia called out, there was no reaction. However, less than 2 minutes later, Carl woke up again and even asked Sophia why she was here. Moreover, he seemed completely unaware that he had been drinking. The next day, Sophia went to ask Rhodes if Carl had any other symptoms. For example, a condition like sudden amnesia. Rhodes was also surprised. He had obviously been very well behaved recently, and he deduced that this was a symptom of personality change. And this seemed to be the first time she had heard this term since transmigrating into the book. She had also encountered this situation when she first arrived. It was just that she was too scared back then and couldn't care about anything else. Rhodes explained that Carl would sometimes become extremely violent, completely different from his usual self. Generally, as long as he wasn't provoked to anger, it was fine. Sophia then associated this with the possibility of a split personality, but Carl didn't know about this. Furthermore, Rhodes stated that this matter must be kept absolutely secret, because once Carl found out, there was no telling what might happen. The Marseille Empire's royal family holds 2 large-scale celebrations every year. In addition, because envoys and delegations from neighboring countries visit in February, a banquet comparable to a celebration is also held at this time. In the original work, it was at this time that Luna received a confession from the warm-hearted male supporting character, and Rhodes actually made Sophia act as the envoy's assistant. Then he dropped a line saying that the envoy was someone Sophia was very familiar with, and then he shirked his duties and ran off. Suddenly receiving such a mission, Sophia was a bit at a loss. At this moment, Carl suddenly appeared. Seeing Sophia's hesitation, he specially came to tidy up Sophia's appearance. He even deliberately pinned Sophia's brooch in a more conspicuous place. He wanted everyone to know that Sophia was his therapist. Being stared at so intently by Carl, Sophia felt a bit shy. The celebration scene was very lively. Sophia was standing right next to Carl at this moment. At this time, Bernie from Delphi came over to greet Carl. Then Sophia remembered. Wasn't this the playboy from the clothing store? Claude smiled and responded. He was the envoy from Delphi. At this moment, Carl's face beside them suddenly darkened. He asked how the two of them knew each other. Claude then recounted their encounter at the clothing store. Afterwards, he even tactlessly asked Carl for Sophia's name. Although Carl was extremely displeased, he still stated Sophia's full name. Then Carl declared that this was enough for today, preparing to leave the celebration. He also signaled for Sophia to follow him. After going out, he told Sophia to shut her mouth and obediently follow him. Sophia had absolutely no way of dealing with this willful and reckless emperor. That afternoon, on her way to change Carl's flowers, Sophia encountered Claude again, and he had come this time just to give Sophia some specialty chamomile tea. Their place was the best chamomile tea producing region. This small bag cost a full 300 gold coins. What a pity, the quality of the recently produced chamomile tea had declined somewhat. Moreover, chamomile tea contained calming and soothing properties, which might be helpful for insomnia. Sophia immediately thought that perhaps she could use this to build a career. Little did she know that their conversation was completely seen by Carl nearby. Seeing the two of them chatting so happily, he was very displeased. That night when Sophia came to work, Carl was standing at the door, giving Sophia a fright. Sophia thought Carl had switched personalities again. So when Carl cornered her against the wall, she was very scared. Carl didn't know why either, but every time Sophia faced him, she would show this kind of expression. Then he pulled Sophia up. He wanted to give Sophia, who had been giggling foolishly in front of another man, a little punishment. And his punishment was for her to sit here and coax him to sleep. He also warned Sophia not to be like that in front of other men, as it would upset him. In the western part of the empire, in the Frank territory, a maid was about to help a blue-haired girl carry her luggage, but was slapped away by the blue-haired girl. Then the girl waved her magic wand, and the luggage just floated in the air. And this girl was Luna, who was also Sophia's younger sister. For her returning daughter, the mother gave a warm welcome, for no other reason than her daughter being the top student at the Magic Academy. Count Frank had gone to the capital and hadn't returned yet. Luna then told her mother the purpose of her return. She wanted to attend her debutante ball. Upon hearing this news, her mother immediately arranged for a carriage to go to the capital to sort this out. Watching her mother's departing figure, Luna's expression gradually turned gloomy and cold. After returning to the mansion, she actually sent all the maids away to rest. The maids were naturally very willing, and she sent her mother away and dismissed the maids just to enter the basement of this castle. There was actually a prison cell in the basement, and this was where Sophia used to live. Luna was furious because her family had lied to her. If she graduated from the Magic Academy with first place, they would let her sister go. As it turned out, it seemed they had sold her sister to the palace from the day she enrolled, and the magic she had set up before she left had also been overridden by her father's magic spell. She made up her mind to let her father know the consequences of touching what belonged to her. At this time, Sophia, who was taking a walk in the garden, met Claude again, and he seemed to be leaving. Claude explained that he didn't want to go back so early either, but it was because he had been warned by His Majesty. Carl reminded him whether it was time to leave the palace and return to his country, but he didn't intend to return to his country. Although he couldn't attend the debutante ball, he could freely mingle at other balls, and every time he wore this mask, he would think of Sophia. Sophia was a bit shocked. What is wrong with this guy? Watching Claude's departing figure, Sophia could only pray that Luna, being so naive, wouldn't be deceived by him. Because in Sophia's memory, Luna was a pure and justice-loving young girl. Moreover, there was still 1 year left until the day of Carl and Luna's grand wedding. Until the two got married, Luna had never held a debutante ball. In other words, Luna would not attend this debutante ball, which also meant Sophia could relax and have fun at the ball. Although the two seemed to have a good relationship in the past, she didn't want to see Luna. After all, she was inextricably linked to Sophia's death. However, the current direction of the story was completely different from the novel. That day, Sophia found herself receiving a pile of letters. These letters, without exception, were all invitations to the ball from the young men of various families. Sophia was a bit perplexed. As an illegitimate daughter with no power in her hands, why would they send letters to her? That night, Sophia prepared to go to work again. However, Carl seemed like a different person today. He pinned Sophia down on the bed. It turned out he had seen Sophia seeing Claude off. He questioned Sophia why she didn't listen to him. He had clearly told her not to get close to Claude. He even asked Sophia if she had fallen for Claude, because he always heard Sophia calling him intimately by the name Claude. Hearing this, Sophia couldn't help but laugh out loud. Actually, she was just afraid that Claude would always call her Miss Frank with that greasy tone. And to say she would like Claude, a guy who obviously loved to flirt around, was just too absurd. Compared to that kind of person, Sophia felt that even the tyrant in front of her was better. Seeing the atmosphere gradually turning ambiguous, Sophia quickly changed the subject. She showed Carl the letters she had received, as she didn't know how to deal with them. Carl sneered and said to send all the letters to his office. And his way of dealing with these letters was actually to have Rhodes burn them all in a fire. Sophia was still thanking Carl. If it weren't for Carl, these letters would have crushed her. But Sophia certainly couldn't have imagined that Carl had burned them all without even looking at them. At this time, a knight suddenly delivered a gift box, saying it was from His Majesty to Sophia. He also told her to wear this to the Marseille Hall tonight. Refusing would mean violating the contract. What Sophia didn't expect even more was that. And Ro also came. They were here to help Sophia put on makeup. Ever since Sophia became a knight, she not only changed rooms, but also stopped eating in the previous dining hall. The three of them hadn't seen each other for a long time. After a brief interaction, Sophia found that the two of them were very polite to her, completely lacking the friendly atmosphere from before. The two had to explain that because Sophia was a special knight, acting casually would get them scolded. Sophia had no choice but to pout to express her displeasure. But Sophia had always treated the two as friends. In fact, the two also liked Sophia very much and were glad that Sophia treated them as friends. After it was done, Sophia couldn't quite believe it. Was the person in the mirror really her? Just like that, with the help of her good friends, Sophia walked into the ceremony. Strangely, everyone seemed to be looking at her, which put her under immense pressure. The noble ladies from various families were also chatting, wondering why they had never seen such a beautiful lady in the social circle before. What was even more awkward was that Sophia met the people who had written letters to her earlier. They even started arguing over the chance to speak with Sophia. Just as Sophia was at a loss, a tall figure shielded her. It was none other than Carl. He glared at the men and gave them a scolding. The men were instantly so frightened that their legs went soft. They were ready to kneel down and beg for mercy before quickly fleeing. Carl's appearance instantly gave Sophia a sense of security, and Carl was also very satisfied with this expression on Sophia's face. Then he took Sophia with him, preparing to take their seats. This scene drew the attention of the entire hall. Everyone was discussing it animatedly. Not only was she wearing rubies to the ball, but His Majesty was also very protective of her. And Carl didn't care about these discussions at all. It even felt like he was quite enjoying it. Seeing that Sophia's dress was a bit revealing, he even draped his coat over her. But this dress was clearly the one he had given to Sophia. Just then, Sophia saw a figure. An unexpected figure. Why was Luna here? Sophia was very panicked. Luna saw her sister and hugged her in front of everyone. She repeatedly confirmed that this person was indeed her sister. Carl decided to let them go to a quiet place to chat. Carl realized that this was the younger sister Sophia had mentioned. Sophia did not deny it. Carl told them to take their time, talking while he excused himself for a moment. Sophia told her sister not to worry and explained to her that the man was the emperor of the empire. Luna held her sister's hand, asking if she knew she was coming to the ball. In the original work, Luna did not attend the ball. According to the novel's plot, it would be at least another year before she made her appearance. Luna revealed a look of sadness. She had learned that her sister was going to be His Majesty's therapist. She didn't even know that that person had sold her to the palace. Sophia could only laugh awkwardly, realizing that she had changed the direction of the plot. Luna asked her if she had pleaded with His Majesty just because she wanted to see her. Luna thought her sister had anticipated that she might attend the debutante ball, so she begged His Majesty to let her attend. But deep down, Sophia didn't think this way. She felt that Luna was being very strange. Before Sophia could speak, Luna gave an evil smile, believing that her sister couldn't live without her. Sophia felt a bit strange. Her current appearance didn't look like a child at all. That night, Luna kept clinging to Sophia while sleeping. The next day, Luna became even happier. Sophia was dragged by Luna and had no choice but to go to the Marseille Hall. Sophia hadn't planned to attend for 2 consecutive days, but Sophia also felt that it wasn't bad to suddenly have a younger sister out of nowhere. Before transmigrating, the female lead didn't have any siblings, so after her parents passed away, she was always alone. Sophia felt that compared to before transmigrating, life here seemed pretty good. Luna found her sister and asked what she was doing here alone. Sophia felt more comfortable standing here. Luna, however, thought her sister was still the same old way. What was there to be afraid of with her being here? After speaking, Luna handed Sophia some red wine, telling her sister to have a taste. Sophia stated that she couldn't drink, but Luna told her that since her sister had become His Majesty's knight, couldn't she be a black knight who shielded her younger sister from drinking? Forced by helplessness, Sophia had to take the red wine. Suddenly, Carl appeared and snatched the red wine from her hand. He told her that her face had turned red after drinking last time. After saying that, Carl downed the red wine in his hand in one gulp. Sophia was a bit worried that drinking it all in one gulp like this might harm Carl. He thought it was just drinking a glass of wine, nothing to worry about. Just like when Sophia drank for Carl before. Sophia was touched by Carl. Luna suddenly put on a very worried face. He suddenly glared at Luna, thinking that she didn't seem to know her sister very well either. Luna cried and apologized to her sister, saying she really didn't know her sister couldn't touch alcohol. Seeing this, Sophia hurriedly comforted her, and all of this was seen by Carl. The next night, Luna rummaged out a handkerchief from the drawer and asked her sister why the handkerchief she had given her before was here. It was only then that Sophia realized the handkerchief was actually a gift from Luna, so she could only find an excuse to prevaricate. Luna told her sister not to be reluctant to use it and to use it when needed. Sophia took the handkerchief and said she would use it well in the future. Sophia mentioned that there was only one bed here, asking if it would be inconvenient to sleep at night, wanting Luna to go back to her own room to sleep. But Luna said that the reason she came to the palace was to save her and get her out. Sophia felt a trace of surprise at her words. Luna didn't expect her sister to have this reaction. She thought it was His Majesty who forced her to be a therapist. This wasn't her sister's own will, was it? Sophia didn't understand what was wrong with her. She thought her sister was so soft-hearted. How could she possibly survive in the palace? Luna stated that she genuinely wanted to save her. She apologized to Sophia for failing to stop that person. Sophia knew that the person her sister was talking about was their father. For a magic non-adapter like you, sister, the Imperial Palace might be safe. There's no difference. You're still locked up. But what's the difference between here and the basement at home? After all, you're locked up in both places. Suddenly, Sophia's memories flooded her mind. Those were memories Sophia didn't want to face. The room the female lead appeared in earlier was from Sophia's past memories. Luna induced her, saying that as long as she escaped from here, she wouldn't have to live in a place like the basement anymore. For a moment, Sophia had the thought of escaping, but the female lead did not. Although she possessed Sophia's memories, the female lead eventually snapped out of it. Sophia told Luna that she was very grateful for her concern. She stated that she couldn't run away with her right now, as becoming His Majesty's therapist was her own choice. Moreover, she had already officially signed a contract with His Majesty. Luna was a bit in disbelief. Sophia stated that until she fulfilled her obligations, she had to stay here. After comforting Luna, Sophia still had to go coax His Majesty to sleep first, so she left. Meanwhile, Sophia went to Carl's room. Carl hugged her first. Sophia hesitated a bit, feeling he was too close. Carl leaned into her ear and asked if she wanted to sleep together. Sophia shyly yelled that she didn't want to sleep with a pervert. The next morning, Carl was practicing swordplay with his subordinates. As a swordsmanship genius, Carl surpassed the knight commander at the age of 17, becoming the Empire's strongest knight. But due to his taciturn and ruthless personality, even his escort knights were unwilling to get close. Furthermore, there were rumors that His Majesty killed the Empress and the Crown Prince to take the Emperor's throne. But recently, it was heard that the cold Emperor seemed to have changed. Not only had his expression softened, but his tone was no longer icy. He would even smile. The trio was now completely mesmerized by Carl. Suddenly, a subordinate saw someone standing on the roof. They realized it was Sophia's younger sister. Why would she be up there? Carl saw her jump down from above. Carl thought that if her sister died, Sophia might commit suicide too. At this time, Sophia was looking everywhere for Luna. Sophia saw Carl in the distance, but she found Luna lying in Carl's arms. The two also noticed Sophia. Luna got up and hugged Sophia, telling her she accidentally missed a step and that His Majesty caught her. Seeing that she wasn't injured, Carl left first. But Sophia was still half skeptical. That night, Sophia coaxed Carl to sleep as usual. This time, Sophia saw bloodstains on Carl's arm. Sophia didn't expect that his saving Luna was true. Sophia pulled him to sit on the sofa and lifted Carl's clothes. This caught Carl a bit off guard. Sophia told him to bear with it, as she wanted to check his wound. Sophia saw that the wound was deep and planned to call Marquis Rhodes to help Carl get treated. Carl stopped her, thinking that this minor injury didn't warrant causing a commotion. Carl told her his constitution was special and it would heal immediately. A simple bandage would do. Sophia saw she only had the handkerchief Luna gave her in her pocket. But bandaging was the priority right now, and she planned to find a chance to explain to Luna later. But Sophia was still angry, thinking that if Carl had just told the truth, she wouldn't have misunderstood him. Sophia mischievously applied a bit of force while bandaging, considering it a punishment for him. Just as Sophia was about to leave, Carl pulled her back and asked her wait a bit before leaving, to coax him to sleep first. Sophia felt a bit shy seeing him act spoiled. The next second, she told him to lie down on the bed first. Carl had no choice but to slowly climb onto the bed. At the banquet, Luna suddenly asked Sophia where the handkerchief she gave her went. Sophia recounted the incident of His Majesty getting injured to her. Luna was somewhat furious, not expecting her sister to actually use her handkerchief to bandage His Majesty. She thought her sister was too naive to believe His Majesty so easily. Sophia's memories flooded her mind once again. That memory was of Sophia's father. In the memory, her father stated that everything was for Luna. Luna told her sister to hold on until she graduated from the Magic Academy, and then she would help her sister leave the Frank family. He always protected Luna and was dissatisfied just because Sophia was a magic non-adapter. So as soon as Luna left home for the Magic Academy, her father sold Sophia to the Imperial Palace. The reason the female lead was able to transmigrate into Sophia's body was because she had given up on everything. But Sophia didn't know that the person who pushed her into the abyss was none other than Luna. Back to reality, Luna was still whispering like a devil. She said His Majesty was not a good person and told her not to believe him. And she stated that Sophia had told her that His Majesty was definitely not a good person. Luna still thought she was the same useless sister from before. She thought her sister was like before, locked in the basement for too long, so she probably didn't understand His Majesty well. When Luna was about to say how Her Majesty the Empress and His Highness the Crown Prince died, Sophia told her to stop talking. But Luna didn't know how to hold back. She started twisting the facts, talking about that time in the courtyard, saying didn't her sister also see His Majesty preparing to do something inappropriate to her? Just as Luna wanted to continue probing, Sophia's slap had already landed hard on her face. Sophia asked her if her conscience had been eaten by a dog. His Majesty injured his arm to save you, but what about you? This made Luna a bit panicked. Sophia laid out Luna's plan clearly. Sophia had seen through all of this. Sophia emphasized again that His Majesty was not that kind of person. Even if no one else believed it, she would still believe in him. Sophia believed that the reason Luna acted so pitiful was entirely for her own sake. Sophia stated that she didn't want to be her pitiful sister anymore, nor was she her property. Sophia hoped Luna wouldn't dictate her life anymore in the future. When Sophia turned around, she saw Carl. In front of everyone, Carl pulled her away from the banquet. Sophia wanted to know how much His Majesty had heard. Carl didn't hide it and said everything. Sophia was very angry, not expecting Luna to say such things. Just as Sophia was feeling indignant for Carl, Carl hugged her tightly. He was very grateful for everything Sophia had done. Then, he gently kissed her forehead. In the morning, Sophia woke Carl up and asked him to go outside first, as she needed to clean up. Carl didn't expect to be kicked out so early in the morning. Luna then bumped into Carl, and this scene was coincidentally seen by Sophia. Sophia had a look of jealousy. Luna fiercely warned Carl, telling him that her sister belonged to her alone, and advised Carl not to engage in wishful thinking. Carl, however, let out a cold laugh and asked if she had gotten her own consent. He also told Luna, "Your sister doesn't want to escape from here with you." Sophia is a knight belonging to the Emperor. She's Carl's therapist. Carl warned her that if she made Sophia suffer next time, he would not let it go easily. That night, Carl noticed Sophia was absent-minded, so he wanted to listen to her vent. Sophia tactfully said that she saw him and Luna together in the morning, and they were very close. Hearing this, Carl laughed out loud. Carl explained that it was just like last time, he only supported her. Carl stated that his gynophobia hadn't been cured yet, and if it were any other woman, he would have left long ago. Without saying much more, Carl asked Sophia to quickly coax him to sleep. Sophia's mood also instantly improved. A week after the debutante ball, Luna packed her bags and prepared to leave, asking if her sister wasn't going to see her off. Sophia couldn't figure out what she was up to. After all, Luna was a magician who could adjust her mood and expressions at will. Luna said it didn't matter if she didn't come. Sophia didn't understand what Luna's expression meant. Luna was afraid that if things continued like this, she would be killed by someone. Sophia finally agreed to go see her off. Luna took out a letter, wanting her sister to pass it to His Majesty to apologize to him. Just as Luna was saying goodbye, someone stepped down from the carriage who made Sophia feel terrified. That kind of fear was a terror coming from Sophia's very soul. When Sophia was very young, her father beat her every day. This caused severe trauma to her heart during her childhood. Her father found Sophia an eyesore as soon as he saw her. He didn't want to see her appear in front of Luna. Sophia apologized subconsciously. Her father thought she actually dared to make excuses. Sophia believed that people don't stay the same forever. Her father didn't expect her to have learned to talk back. But he had important matters this time and didn't want to waste time on her. So he pulled Luna along, preparing to leave. Sophia told her father that if he truly loved Luna, he shouldn't treat her as a decorative item for his facade anymore. Luna seemed to have a slight stir in her heart. Luna asked her father what the purpose of his visit was this time. Could it be to meet that lord? Her father was puzzled as to where Luna heard this from. Luna told her father that she was also a magician of the Frank family. Her goal was to surpass her father. Therefore, Luna also wanted to meet that lord. After the debutante ball ended, the imperial palace returned to its usual peace. Carl was tired of this way of being coaxed to sleep. He wanted to change it, but Sophia took out the contract, stating that only she could amend it. Carl got up. He hoped that from now on, Sophia would do as he said. Then he took off his clothes. Sophia was a bit panicked. Carl held her hand and told her not to speak, just to follow him. It turned out Carl wanted to change clothes and go out for a walk. Sophia had thought she was going to get an eyeful. This was also Sophia's first time taking a walk with a man. Carl recounted that he loved coming here when he was little. Because Carl was small and couldn't see the lilacs, his mother dragged her sick body to lift him up just so he could admire them up close. Carl was just very happy to take a walk with his mother. Having her hold him was already enough. His mother thought Carl liked the lilacs, so she had Marquis Rhodes keep the courtyard forever frozen in the blooming season. After Carl's mother passed away, he never came here again. Because his memories from childhood were too vivid, he didn't want to touch them. Sophia sighed that Carl had changed a lot from before. On the other side, Marquis Rhodes was investigating a certain matter under the Emperor's orders. This time, Marquis Rhodes found the clues they left behind. They usually did things flawlessly, but this time they left clues. Marquis Rhodes thought it was a trap, but also felt that they had never even come close once. The capital could also be their final stronghold. The place with the greatest power to take over would be where the Imperial Palace is located. Marquis Rhodes believed this should be their final stronghold. Marseille was the best battlefield in their plan. Marquis Rhodes decided to speed up his actions. At night, Carl got close to Sophia. If I feel another person's body temperature, it will be easier to fall asleep. Sophia immediately thought, why was he saying such suggestive words? Carl asked if her heart was fluttering. Sophia tried to deny it verbally, but in reality, her heart was already racing like a deer. Then Carl asked her to lie down next to him and threatened her with an imperial order. Sophia had no choice but to lie down under Carl's coercion and coaxing. Carl held Sophia's hand and told her that this way, she wouldn't have to strain her voice. Carl got up and then asked her if he was handsome. Sophia thought he was quite handsome. Carl was very excited to hear Sophia praise him. Sophia told him not to get so close or her heart wouldn't be able to take it. Seeing such a cute side of her, Carl couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sophia told Carl not to misunderstand. Her heart wasn't racing because she liked him. Carl wanted to know what it was because of then. Sophia said it was because Carl was handsome and just her type. Carl gave her an affectionate smile. On the other side, Luna was very surprised by her sister's drastic change. Before, her sister would tremble at the sound of their father's voice. She didn't expect her to say such things. Soon they arrived at their destination. Her father took out a gemstone and asked Luna to place her magic wand on it. The magic circle took effect. They seemed to have entered another place. They slowly pushed the door open. At this moment, a man was standing there. Her father had something to report to the man, but the man stated that he couldn't bring his daughter inside. So Luna had no choice but to obey her father's order and step out first. Although Luna didn't know what they were plotting. But the place she had come to made Luna unable to understand what her father and the others were planning. Just as Luna prepared to use her magic to investigate properly, the man told her that magic couldn't be used casually here. Seeing this, Luna realized this person seemed to be the lord her father had mentioned, so she hurriedly knelt down to admit her mistake. The man told her not to do that, as it felt like he was bullying a child. Luna didn't think she was a child and introduced herself to the man as Luna DeFrank. Only then did the man know she was Frank's daughter. The man told her it was best not to get involved in such dangerous matters. Luna told the man she had long been prepared. The man lifted her hand, asking if it didn't matter if these pure white hands were stained red. Luna knew what the man meant. That was, as a magician, one must absolutely never use magic to harm people. This matter was an absolute taboo among magicians. The man introduced himself, saying she could just call him Hute. However, the man emphasized that she could only call him that when they were alone together. Marquis Rhodes told Carl that while investigating the Lizong region, they found one of their strongholds and discovered important clues there. Carl was somewhat shocked to see that he had already infiltrated their stronghold. Marquis Rhodes handed Carl a piece of paper. Judging from information displayed on it, all of them were heading to the capital. They must investigate clearly as soon as possible. Only by knowing their goal could they prepare countermeasures. Marquis Rhodes stated that the magic tools would be completed soon. By then, they could officially begin their operation. At night, while Sophia was taking a walk, she heard a noise coming from ahead. Sophia discovered that the person ahead was actually Carl. But Sophia still couldn't help secretly looking at Carl. But Carl still noticed her. Sophia shrank back in fright. Just as Carl approached step by step, Sophia told him to keep up the good work and then hastily fled. The usually cold Carl was amused by her actions. Lying in bed, Sophia had mixed feelings. If she saw Carl now, it goes without saying how awkward it would be. But Sophia still couldn't escape the fate of having to wake Carl up. Seeing that Carl was already awake, Sophia quickly slipped away. Carl couldn't say much either. But this time they ran into each other in the kitchen. Sophia didn't understand why he would come to the kitchen. Carl said he came to get some red wine. Hearing that he came for red wine, Sophia asked if he wanted a drink. Carl argued that he didn't want to drink. He just heard that the kitchen recently got some good red wine, so he wanted to take a look. The head chef stated that drinking a little red wine was good for the body. Sophia told the head chef not to serve red wine or anything like that later. Helpless, Carl couldn't win against her and planned to invite her to the courtyard for a while. Suddenly, Sophia accidentally tripped on the way. Carl caught her in time, preventing Sophia from getting hurt. He also saw a pink petal on her face, so he told her she was beautiful. Sophia was incredibly shy and frantically ran away again. But Carl had a look of enjoyment. After that day, Sophia deliberately avoided Carl. When Carl asked her why she was always avoiding him, Sophia didn't explain. Carl told her that if she didn't want to get close, she didn't have to sit on the bed. A few days passed like this. Then, one day, Sophia found that Carl was missing. Suddenly, Sophia heard a noise coming from inside the wardrobe. When Sophia tried to open the wardrobe, she suddenly revealed a look of horror. It turned out to be Carl popping out from the wardrobe. Sophia wanted to know what was going on. Was there a secret passage inside the wardrobe? Carl told her to stop asking for now and that he would explain later. Suddenly, Sophia noticed a piece of paper on the ground. When Sophia picked it up and wanted to ask what it was, Carl snatched it away and told her not to worry about it for now and to coax him to sleep first. When Carl took off his clothes, Sophia noticed the wound on his arm. Sophia worriedly questioned him about what happened and how he got injured. Carl subconsciously dodged, claiming he was fine. Sophia wouldn't be dismissed by Carl's few words so easily. Carl explained that he just accidentally got hurt while taking a walk in the courtyard. Sophia didn't believe it, thinking it couldn't be like this just from a fall. Unable to keep up the lie, Carl started using his reputation as the emperor, questioning if she doubted his words. Sophia decided to just treat it as a fall injury. But why did he come in through the secret passage? Carl subconsciously turned his head away to avoid her gaze, telling her he just wanted a change of mood, which was why he did it. Seeing him constantly avoiding the topic, Sophia told him she just wanted to know what exactly he had been through. Was it very dangerous? Carl sternly told her it was his own business and had nothing to do with her. Sophia didn't dare to press further, only tactfully expressing that as a therapist, she should at least treat the wound. But Carl claimed he was very tired and told Sophia she could go back for today. He also told her to keep her mouth shut about this matter. Sophia was still very worried about him when she left. After Sophia left, he wondered if he had spoken too harshly, but he couldn't involve Sophia in this. Just as Carl lay down to sleep, suddenly, a voice in Carl's mind asked if he wanted to rest that badly. Carl told it to get lost, but the voice in Carl's mind kept bewitching him. At this time, Sophia was still in bed, worrying about Carl's health. Suddenly, a maid told her that His Majesty was looking for her. Sophia didn't understand what Carl was looking for her for. Carl thought she arrived too slowly. Sophia wanted to take the opportunity to apologize to him. Carl grabbed her, telling her to coax him to sleep first. Then he threw Sophia onto the bed. Carl, acting like a different person, asked her, very curious if Sophia could really make him fall asleep. Sophia remembered the old man's words. Carl had a split personality. Sophia asked him if he wasn't Carl. Carl was shocked by Sophia's words. Suddenly, Carl laughed out loud, thinking she was really sharp. That's why I wanted to kill you. It's a pity that guy suddenly popped out, causing me to fail. Sophia realized that was why he suddenly froze that day. The alternate personality of Carl told her to watch her words, as this body was also the Emperor's. Sophia was speechless. She didn't expect that the split personality, which only appeared in movies and novels, could actually exist here. Sophia knew to bow and ask for his forgiveness. Carl asked if she wanted to know who he was, right? Carl told her that from a mental perspective, he was his older brother, but I was born later, so I count as his younger brother. He introduced his name as Predley, but Predley stated that he really wanted to kill that cowardly Carl. But if I kill Carl, I will disappear too. Sophia asked him if he knew about Carl having enemies. Predley thought it was normal for him to have enemies since he was a royal. Sophia asked him if he didn't even know about this. Predley coldly stated, "Is it necessary for me to know such things?" He explained that he was only responsible for doing what he was supposed to do. For example, killing a troublesome woman like you, by whatever means necessary. Anyway, as long as it reduces this guy's stress, it's fine. Sophia thought he was truly reckless and willful. Carl told her that the biggest problem was her. Sophia didn't understand what was wrong with her. Predley expressed his dissatisfaction with Sophia. Because of her existence, his chances of appearing now were fewer and fewer. Sophia stated that she was only responsible for coaxing His Majesty to sleep. Predley told her that, of course, he wouldn't kill her now. On the contrary, rather than wanting to kill Sophia, Predley was quite interested in her. Carl suddenly staggered and fell backward. Looking at him sleeping, Sophia wondered if Carl was about to wake up. Suddenly, Carl seemed to be in great pain. Sophia was very worried. Carl seemed to be having a nightmare, being chased by something. Behind that door was Sophia, lying in a pool of blood. In reality, Sophia was calling out Carl's name over and over again. Suddenly, tears appeared at the corners of Carl's eyes, and he cried out, "Don't go, Sophia." Just then, Carl suddenly opened his eyes. Seeing the panicked and tearful Sophia, Carl pulled her into his arms. He told her to stay like this and not move anymore. Just like that, they stayed that way until morning. Carl saw how Sophia looked while sleeping. She was really cute. Just when Sophia woke up, she found that Carl was already gone. He only left a letter telling her to go back to her room to rest when she woke up. At that time, Sophia never expected that things would become so complicated later on. Later, Carl found Sophia, wanting to reward her for her duties as his therapist. Suddenly, Rhodes used magic. Sophia, who was bound, didn't understand what was going on. Carl told her that she had worked hard recently and could rest now. Sophia wanted to say something, but Carl told her that she wouldn't need to coax him to sleep anymore, and he planned to give her a long vacation, to live freely outside the palace. He urged her to behave herself and not cause trouble after leaving the palace. Marquis Rhodes told her to listen to Carl's advice. But what Sophia didn't understand was why she had to be tied up. Rhodes told her he would explain it to her later. Carl seemed reluctant as well, but in order to protect Sophia, he had to do this. 2 hours later, Rhodes told Carl that she had been sent away and no one was following them. However, Sophia kept her head down and seemed very unhappy. Carl thought it was a good thing. Only in this way would she not meddle in other people's business and stay out of trouble, right? In Carl's eyes, Sophia was a reckless person, someone who you never knew what she would do the next second. At this time, Rhodes took out the magic item Carl had requested earlier. Carl told him not to rush to use it until they knew the specific meeting location. Then Rhodes told him to wear this mask at that time. Rhodes told Carl that as long as he wore this mask, even people who knew him wouldn't be able to recognize his identity. It also had a function similar to hypnosis, but it was ineffective against people with powerful magic, so he had to act carefully. Carl and the others seemed to have made ample preparations. Meanwhile, Sophia felt very angry at Carl's recent actions. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. Before leaving, Rhodes had instructed Sophia to absolutely not open the door casually. She could only open it when she confirmed the person was someone she knew. This made Sophia feel a trace of fear. Sophia calmed down and thought that Carl must have encountered something to send her here. Suddenly, the person knocking shouted that she was Luna. This left Sophia even more confused. How did Luna know? Sophia thought she would know when she checked. It turned out to really be Luna. Sophia pulled her in, wanted to know how she ended up here. Luna explained that His Majesty the Emperor sent her. His Majesty knew her sister was a magic non-adapter and felt it was safer for her to be with Luna. Sophia thought what she said was the truth. That meant the excuse of giving her a long vacation and tying her up with a rope to send her out of the palace were really all for her own good. Luna understood that Sophia didn't trust her right now, realizing that she used to think only by becoming a magician herself could she save her sister. For this reason, Luna made protecting Sophia her mission. She wanted to beg her sister for forgiveness. Sophia said she would forgive her, but hoped Luna would listen to her from now on. Luna seemed a bit troubled. Sophia asked if it was that difficult. Even so, please understand. After all, I'm extremely furious right now. Meanwhile, in Noble's banquet, Carl was still wondering if Sophia would look beautiful if she came to the banquet. Suddenly, a scream made Carl alert. It turned out someone was causing trouble, but was caught by the guards. The man suddenly punched the guard and prepared to escape. At this moment, Carl vaulted over the railing, preparing to pursue the man. Suddenly, a red-haired man below caught Carl's attention. Carl patted him on the back. The red-haired man recognized that this person seemed to be the Emperor, but Carl couldn't expose his identity yet. The red-haired man asked him why the Emperor would appear here. At this point, the white-haired man appeared again. Seeing this, Carl chased after him once more. Suddenly, a voice came from behind Carl, telling him to dodge. A rope successfully bound the man. It turned out to be the red-haired man's magic. The man smiled, saying it seemed His Majesty's target wasn't him. Suddenly, Carl remembered someone from his childhood whom he had even lost to. The red-haired man noticed the smell of alcohol radiating from him and thought he had gotten drunk, caused trouble, and then fled. The Emperor speculated a bit and found it seemed to be the case. Seeing that the man didn't do it on purpose, the red-haired man didn't make things difficult for the white-haired man either. Carl told him he didn't expect him to be a magician. The red-haired man used magic to conjure a glass of red wine. Carl praised him for his hard work today. The red-haired man revealed a slightly eerie smile, stating that it was a trivial matter and an honor to be able to help His Majesty. Carl still kept his guard up around him. Luna exclaimed in surprise that there was actually a wine radiating a rainbow-colored luster. It was about the note Sophia saw Carl drop earlier. Red wine containing rainbow-colored wine. Carl had hurriedly taken the note away, which was why Sophia asked Luna these questions. But Luna remembered hearing some things about it before. That liquid was called Iris, named after the goddess of the rainbow. Because it would radiate a rainbow luster when shaken, it was given this name. It was said to be circulating in the noble masquerade balls held in the capital. Sophia guessed whether Carl might have attended the noble ball. Luna also said that as long as one drank it, all fatigue would disappear like a miracle. Some even said Iris was a panacea that could cure all diseases. Sophia didn't expect there to be such a medicine in this world. But Sophia remembered that the novel hadn't mentioned this setting. Luna wanted to know why her sister was asking about this. Sophia said she just happened to hear about it and felt it seemed somewhat ominous. If this kind of thing was harmful to His Majesty, she needed to figure it out. After all, she was a therapist. Luna said that if her sister meddled recklessly, she might be in danger. Sophia thought it didn't matter even if there was danger. Luna wanted to know what her sister planned to do. Sophia wanted to go to the banquet personally, so she hoped Luna could help her. Hearing that she could help her sister, Luna happily agreed. The two successfully sneaked into the noble ball. Luna used going to the restroom as an excuse and asked her sister to wait a moment. Right then, Sophia saw a familiar figure. It was Carl. He was really at the ball. However, Sophia didn't plan to encounter him here yet. Suddenly, many nobles were attracted by Sophia's beauty and wanted to invite her to dance. Sophia stated she didn't want to dance, and while running away, she bumped into Carl. Carl told her that running like this would cause her mask to fall off, and then invited Sophia for a dance. How could Sophia resist? She agreed to Carl's invitation. Just like that, Carl and Sophia danced gracefully among the crowd. Sophia found that dancing was actually so interesting. But in Carl's eyes, Sophia was surprisingly happy dancing with a stranger. Carl told her not to smile so happily in front of other men. Sophia realized she had been discovered. Carl told her that he would let her off since she came to the ball with her younger sister. Carl warned her that it was best not to attend balls around here. When Luna saw her sister and Carl together, happily dancing, she finally knew why her sister wanted to take the risk. Not only that, Luna also seemed to understand why the Emperor had sent Sophia to the villa. Upon returning to the palace, Carl learned that Rhodes hadn't found their stronghold. From this, he deduced that they had used magic items to teleport. Carl told him to take a few trusted people to investigate suspicious strongholds one by one. Carl asked him again if he had seen anyone who had drunk Iris. Rhodes was very excited and asked Carl if he had found it. Carl shook his head, indicating he didn't see Iris, but there was someone acting very strangely. Rhodes stated that if that person really drank Iris, there would definitely be rumors. Carl agreed with Rhodes that the thing would make people lose their minds, so the commotion would indeed be significant. Carl took out the mask and asked Rhodes if its effect had weakened, as two people had already seen through his disguise. Rhodes examined it carefully and found no problem with the mask. It was just that Carl's appearance was too outstanding. Meanwhile, Duke Frank told Ancaeus not to worry. Ancaeus thought that if he couldn't even spread rumors, how could he live up to the title of the White Killer? Ancaeus sneered, stating it wasn't the kind of title he had earned. Up until the time of the second emperor, the royal family's exclusive assassins, the Frank family, were still highly renowned. But ever since the third emperor ascended the throne, the royal family cut off ties with the Frank family. It was heard that they originally wanted to seek revenge, but failed. However, all records from that time have been completely destroyed, so the exact reason for their failure could no longer be investigated. Once a magician's hands were stained with blood, they would be permanently expelled from the magician world. But compared to these empty titles, Robert hoped more to reclaim their past honor. For this, he could sacrifice everything. This was the reason he became an owl. For this reason, Carl had to find clues about the owl today. Carl didn't know their exact names. It turned out that the reason Carl was tracking the owl was because a strange owl symbol was left at the place where his older brother died. Just as Carl was thinking, a hand suddenly appeared and poked his face. It was actually the red-haired magician from before. Carl didn't understand how he recognized him. He asked Carl what he was doing here. Carl was very impatient and warned him not to boss him around. Suddenly, Carl seemed to see something. The thing in that person's hand was actually Iris. Carl immediately rushed toward the woman. The woman realized she seemed to have been exposed and turned to run toward the balcony. Carl told her to calm down and that he didn't want to hurt her. Suddenly, the balcony railing broke. Carl tried to grab the woman, but found himself about to fall from the balcony as well. The red-haired man pulled Carl back in time, preventing a disaster. The man used magic to try to pull the woman up. However, due to inertia, the man almost fell. Fortunately, the two helped each other and successfully rescued the woman. But the liquid in the glass had all spilled out. Meanwhile, Luna received an invitation and handed it to her sister. The two of them were invited at the same time. But when Luna saw the location, Duke Hill's mansion, she immediately turned pale with fright. Sophia found it very familiar. Sophia remembered that Rovi's full name was Rovid Hill. It turned out that Rovid, as a non-adapter, was also sold to the palace just like Sophia. In fact, the Hill family and Carl were in a hostile relationship. Luna felt this trip was very dangerous. Sophia decided to still go to Duke Hill's mansion. Luna didn't stop her sister either, believing that they could find clues if they went, but they had to be mentally prepared. On the night of the banquet, the two sisters comforted each other. At this time, Sophia noticed that they were members of the Hill family. Count Hill recognized Luna and greeted her familiarly. Luna was also respectful. When seeing Sophia, Lady Hill seemed unfamiliar with her. But Duke Hill said that his letter was not sent to the wrong place. Sophia keenly realized that what he meant by not sent to the wrong place was that he knew Sophia was not in the palace. Duke Hill introduced her to his wife, saying this was the special night treating His Majesty's insomnia, Miss Sophia. Duke Hill told them that some people inside were looking forward to seeing Luna. Luna seemed very worried about her sister. Sophia felt a bit uneasy, not knowing who the people inside were. It turned out that the people inside were Sophia's parents. Her stepmother greeted Sophia. According to Sophia's memory, when Sophia was sold to the palace, the countess didn't say a single word. The reason Sophia's mother suffered from heart disease was entirely due to the countess's coldness. Sophia told her, "Thanks to you not stopping him at that time, Father sold me into the palace." The stepmother loudly scolded Sophia, asking what nonsense she was spouting. Seeing that Duke Hill and the others were still there, the stepmother didn't dare to test her father. She asked Luna to follow her out, seeming to have something to say to her. Luna was somewhat worried about leaving her sister alone. Sophia said it was fine and told her to go with peace of mind. Duke Hill remarked that Luna seemed very worried. "Do you think I would do something to you?" Sophia was a bit surprised. "True, I'm not foolish enough to make a move on Sophia, who is deeply trusted by His Majesty. But I'm very curious why you would come to this banquet." She clearly could have refused. Sophia came here to investigate what Iris was, but of course she definitely wouldn't say that out loud. For a moment, Sophia didn't know what to say. Sophia thought of the fact that she was a non-adapter and used this to change Duke Hill's topic. Duke Hill couldn't help but ask if she had met Rovi in the palace. He explained that his family was not some ruthless family, but they also weren't happy to see magic non-adapters. Sophia's guess was correct. Rovi was personally sent in by his father. Duke Hill asked Sophia if she knew what it would mean if she told the magicians present that she was a non-adapter. The situation would be very disadvantageous to her. Sophia told him she didn't come here to make enemies with the magicians. "After all, I wasn't cursed to lose my mind." Duke Hill told Sophia he hoped she would remember what he said today, and then he left. Sophia's stepmother also awkwardly indicated she was leaving. At this time, Lady Hill choked up and asked Sophia if she could take a walk outside with her. Meanwhile, her father reprimanded Luna not to attend banquets together with Sophia. Luna was very resistant, asking why she couldn't attend banquets with her sister. Her father pointed at Luna and told her the problem was that she went with Sophia. "Do you know how the rumors are spreading among magicians right now? They all say our family is shielding Sophia, shielding a magic non-adapter." But Luna emotionally stated that there was nothing wrong with her and her sister going to the banquet. Her father, however, thought that if rumors of Luna shielding a non-adapter spread, her reputation would be ruined. Luna stated that it was her father who cared about his own reputation. This caused her father to slap Luna fiercely. Luna believed her father was secretly monitoring them. Her father couldn't be bothered to explain, warning her not to attend banquets with Sophia. Luna told her father that she had met that lord. His order was for her to protect Sophia. Her father thought she was spouting nonsense. Luna told her father she would follow that lord's words and secretly protect her sister. Lady Hill told Sophia that she didn't want to listen to her husband's words. She also didn't want her child to go to the palace. Lady Hill said her child wasn't strong enough, but Sophia didn't think so. He was Rovi, the one who calmly gave advice to the once trembling Sophia. Seeing Lady Hill's earnestness, Sophia briefly told her about Rovi's situation. At this time, Sophia still didn't know what kind of consequences her words would bring. Sophia was a bit surprised, but didn't think much of it. She also told the lady that if she missed Rovi, she could go see him. Lady Hill, however, stated there was no need for that. "I thought he would have grown somewhat. I didn't expect him to be satisfied with just being a servant." Sophia was very panicked, feeling like the lady had become a different person. She suddenly grabbed Sophia and told her she really liked Sophia. Lady Hill pulled Sophia and took her to a secret underground room. Meanwhile, Carl had also disguised himself as someone else and infiltrated Duke Hill's mansion. When Sophia woke up, she found the lady sitting quietly in front of her. Sophia had also kept a trick up her sleeve. The lady asked her if she didn't want to live a peaceful life. As long as she did as she was told, she guaranteed Sophia could live that kind of life. Sophia realized that what she held in her hand was exactly Iris. The lady told her to drink it, and she would receive the protection of the Hill family. At this time, Sophia noticed that behind her, a group of people was performing a mysterious ritual. The lady didn't understand. Wasn't Sophia a non-adapter? How could she see them? Sophia unlocked her handcuffs and knocked over the iris in the lady's hand. She also took the remaining iris with her. Just as Sophia prepared to escape, the lady told her that the door could only be opened from the outside. Then the lady added the remaining iris, poured red wine into the glass, and turned it into true iris. She still had no intention of giving up and persuaded Sophia to drink the iris. Carl broke through the wall and knocked the lady unconscious. Calling out to the fallen Sophia, Carl was very panicked. At this time, the guards of the Hill family came to support. Carl wrapped Sophia up and fought his way out of there. When Sophia woke up, she found herself outside. Sophia saw that this person looked a lot like Carl. Carl told her to stay quiet and follow him. She then realized he was indeed Carl. Carl took Sophia in a carriage and arrived at the palace, and led her toward the secret passage leading to his bedroom. Back in the bedroom, Carl pinned her against the wall. Sophia questioned him why he appeared there. Sophia remembered Carl warning her not to attend the banquet parties. Sophia told him that she had received an invitation to Duke Hill's banquet not long ago. So you just swaggered over there foolishly? Sophia explained she was investigating some things along the way. Carl didn't want to hear her explanation, thinking she was just an idiot. Sophia stated she wanted to do something for him. Carl angrily told her that she had no idea how dangerous that kind of place was. Sophia could see that Carl was worried about her. Finally, he stormed off angrily. Sophia said that as the emperor of this country, he was not only fighting alone, but also getting injured. Carl stated that such things were his responsibility. Sophia cried and asked Carl what she would do if something happened to him. Carl emotionally hugged her, telling Sophia that without her, he couldn't live either. After that, the two kissed deeply. He told her he would protect her from now on. In the morning, Carl was furious. Marquis Rhodes, under the Emperor's orders, went to search Duke Hill's mansion, but found nothing. Marquis Rhodes stated that they searched for 3 days and 3 nights, but still found nothing. Carl couldn't believe it. Rhodes explained that there were more magicians belonging to the owl than they thought. For them to seal the passage so quickly and erase the magic of everyone present, it would be absolutely impossible unless multiple outstanding magicians worked together. Carl told him to continue investigating until they found concrete evidence. At this time, Carl had a nightmare again. Predley told him that as the Emperor of Marseille, he was actually blinded by such useless emotions. Carl didn't understand who he really was. Predley stated, "Making me shut up, even in dreams, is too unfair. What exactly are you afraid of? Are you afraid of losing? If you're afraid of losing, just make the other person impossible to lose. I can teach you." Carl saw Sophia in danger and thought of saving her, but he was stopped by Predley. At this moment, Carl saw his face clearly and woke up from the dream with a start. Sophia had been locked in a small room by Carl for 5 days. She was very worried about Carl's safety. When Sophia sighed that her clothes had become tattered, she found the iris hidden in her clothes. This was the very evidence Carl had been desperately searching for. When Marquis Rhodes learned of this, he immediately took Sophia to see Carl. But the guards outside the door stated that without His Majesty's orders, no one could enter. Marquis Rhodes shouted from outside. However, the room was very quiet. Sophia also tried calling for Carl. Seeing this, the guards told them to calm down. Marquis Rhodes couldn't wait any longer. Regardless of whose orders they were, he used magic to open the door. Sophia saw Carl in pain and wanted to know what was wrong with him. Carl said not to worry. Sophia angrily stated that if he couldn't sleep, he should have called her. "That's right, but you can rest now because I found the iris." Carl didn't expect that the thing he had painstakingly searched for but failed to find was actually found by the delicate Sophia. Marquis Rhodes told Carl to rest well next, and he would handle the investigation from here on. Sophia pulled Carl into her arms, letting him fall asleep peacefully. Marquis Rhodes worked tirelessly for 7 whole days and nights to study the iris. It showed what an elusive substance iris was. However, Marquis Rhodes was also the Empire's premier magician. Carl was looking forward to the results of his research. Marquis Rhodes explained that mixing the powder from the bag into water would turn it like this. It was very difficult to determine its composition and effects using magic. Carl didn't expect there to be something even Rhodes's magic couldn't handle. Rhodes explained that this powder was definitely made using magic, but not ordinary magic. It was made using black magic. What was currently certain was that it had the effect of displacing and amplifying power, and it was highly addictive. In short, this thing was 100% harmful to the human body. Carl stated that this was reason enough to destroy it. Using black magic without authorization would definitely result in permanent imprisonment. Even if the person was executed, no one would say a word. Carl didn't understand who on earth used black magic to create such a thing. Marquis Rhodes believed that the opposing magician should not be underestimated. This made Carl even more eager to meet the creator of Iris. His brother died because of him. 7 days later, Carl found Sophia and expressed his gratitude for the evidence she provided, which helped uncover many things in the investigation. Sophia said she was the one who should be saying thank you. Carl wanted to apologize to Sophia, but Sophia asked if kissing her was his way of apologizing. Only then did she realize what she had just said. Carl said he was impulsive for losing his temper at her. However, Carl didn't intend to apologize for kissing Sophia. This time, Carl kissed Sophia again. Sophia was a bit shy. Carl told her that he wouldn't need bed maids anymore. During this time, Carl had been using bed maids to maintain relationships with the nobles and gather intelligence. Didn't you say before that you wanted to abolish the bedmaid system and have them become official maids? Rovi said he would stay in the palace as a servant, however, and would probably leave. Sophia was shocked. Carl told Sophia to hurry and see her off. Sophia excitedly hugged her good friend, and she asked where she planned to go, and said she had an engagement before entering the palace and was going to find him. Sophia was genuinely happy for her. Sophia wished her a safe journey, hoping she could live happily with the one she loved. After seeing off her good friend, Sophia encountered danger. Marquis Rhodes and the others were in a meeting. A man reported that among the knights sent to clear out the mansion had not returned. They had just come back, reportedly delayed because they got lost on the way. Rhodes sharply sensed something was wrong. He believed the people he sent knew the place like the back of their hands and couldn't possibly get lost. They then went together to the knights' resting area and found that some knights had been brutally murdered. Marquis Rhodes didn't understand what their purpose was. The emperor, seeing that Sophia had been out for a long time and hadn't returned, went out to look for her and found her in danger. Sophia didn't expect Carl to save her again. Carl told her to hide behind him. Carl was furious that they actually laid hands on Sophia. When he slashed an enemy, he noticed that they didn't let out a single cry of pain when receiving a fatal wound. Carl guessed that someone must be controlling their consciousness. Duke Hill, who was watching the show from the shadows, didn't expect Carl to suddenly appear. Duke Hill, well aware of Carl's strength, planned to ambush him here. Duke Hill stated that Carl wouldn't be able to dodge this cursed magic. At this moment, Marquis Rhodes appeared and unhesitatingly attacked him with magic. However, Duke Hill's magic was already complete. Duke Hill was sent flying at the last moment, but the cursed magic flew towards Carl. Carl was still completely unaware of this. In the end, it was Sophia who blocked the cursed magic for Carl. Carl panicked and hurriedly checked Sophia's injuries. But no matter how Carl called out to her, Sophia didn't respond. Carl swore to cure Sophia no matter what. 3 days later, the captured Duke Hill had been under constant interrogation, but it yielded absolutely nothing. Carl didn't understand. After Duke Hill killed the 4 knights investigating the Duke's mansion, he used black magic to turn them into puppets. After those puppets returned to the palace, they targeted Sophia. Carl didn't understand why their target was actually Sophia. Rhodes told him that Sophia was not eroded by the curse magic. It turned out that at that time, Carl saw the magic item Sophia wore on her chest shatter after blocking the curse for her. He wondered if it was thanks to that magic item. But Rhodes stated that no matter how powerful a magic item was, it couldn't block magic. Carl said they would start the execution tomorrow. In the dungeon, Duke Hill expressed frustration that he actually failed to kill that wretched girl, thinking Rhodes had done something. It turned out that Duke Hill noticed the black magic was deflected. The resulting side effects made him feel unwell, which was how he knew the curse had no effect. He was unwilling to just die like this. At this moment, Hute quietly appeared in the dungeon. When Duke Hill saw the Lord arrive in person, he recounted to Hute the mistake he made in the palace. He then wanted Hute to give him a chance to make up for his failure. Hute was lost in thought and didn't answer. Duke Hill hoped his lord could save him and get him out, promising to be utterly devoted to him afterward, but only received a kick from Hute. Hute then told him that the black magic had already eroded his heart. Duke Hill begged him to save him. Hute told him to face reality this virus could not be cured. Only then did Duke-Hill realize. Had Hute swapped into a new body before to remain unscathed? Hute didn't expect him to find out his secret, so, without hesitation, he used black magic. With a single scream, Duke-Hill died. Hute finally told him that a dog should be obedient, but he just had to be presumptuous. You are not qualified to touch those two people yet. Meanwhile, in Sophia's dream, Carl was confronting the Marquis. In the end, he slashed and injured the Marquis. Carl thought he really didn't understand the principle that a loose tongue brings fatal disaster. Sophia then woke up from the dream with a start. Carl, who was beside her, was very worried about her condition. When Sophia saw Carl, tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. Carl pulled her into his arms. He asked if she had a nightmare. In fact, the Carl of the original novel did exactly this. He killed the Marquis and Sophia, and then cruelly abandoned Luna. All of this was because of the truth the Marquis had uncovered in his investigation, and Carl seemed to have suffered a huge blow because of it, unwilling to believe reality. Sophia decided to prevent all of this from happening. She had to find the Marquis. Unexpectedly, at night, Predley, the alternate personality inside Carl, couldn't hold back anymore and wanted to make a move on Sophia. So he told her that he would eliminate this trouble today, believing that sooner or later, Sophia would destroy this guy. Sophia didn't expect that she would actually die here today, but Predley's stab missed. Predley didn't expect Carl's consciousness to be so strong, able to use his body to control him even while in a deep sleep. Ultimately, Carl's consciousness was still suppressed by Predley, just as the sword was slashing towards Sophia. Carl finally woke up and blocked the sword with his left hand. Seeing this scene, she was somewhat shocked. Carl unhesitatingly cut his palm open, trying to suppress Predley's consciousness. Upon fully waking up and learning that he actually tried to kill Sophia, Carl realized there was a monster inside him. Afterward, Carl went to the Marquis and finally learned the truth about the monster inside his body. But Carl thought the Marquis should have told him earlier. Blaming himself, Carl felt he shouldn't have kept Sophia by his side in the first place. So Carl decided to have the Marquis summon Luna. The next day, Carl called Sophia to him and told her that her mission was complete. This left Sophia feeling confused. Carl continued, "My insomnia is cured. Now I can get a good night's sleep even without you. Thank you. From now on, you are no longer my therapist, nor are you my knight. Leave the palace and live a free life." He also told her that he had contacted Luna in advance, informing Sophia that Luna was waiting for her at the palace entrance. He then burned all the contracts right in front of her. This made Sophia feel conflicted inside. After saying this, Carl showed a thought-provoking look in his eyes. When Sophia wanted to ask Carl why he was doing this, Carl urged her to leave quickly. This series of actions left Sophia feeling disappointed. She thought she was nothing more than cannon fodder in a novel, believing it would be better if she just disappeared. But Carl believed he was a monster, and if he wanted to protect the person he loved, his only choice was to let go. As she left, Sophia tearfully expressed her gratitude to Carl, thanking him for not killing her. Carl told her to leave quickly, or else he really would kill her. Sophia bowed and bid her final farewell to Carl. Looking at Sophia from the window, Carl was very reluctant to let her go, but it was the only way to protect her. Sophia said goodbye to the Marquis. Finally, she looked at Rovi and thanked him as well, telling him that no matter what happened, he must never drink Iris. Luna looked at her sister Sophia in the carriage and asked if she was really okay now. Sophia told Luna she was really fine. However, thinking of every moment she spent with Carl, Sophia couldn't help but shed sad tears. Sophia didn't understand. Hadn't she always wanted to leave the palace and live a good life? But now she was reluctant to part with Carl. She remembered a sentence from her best friend. "You must put yourself first and choose what you truly want." It was then that Sophia suddenly woke up to reality. She told the coachman to turn the carriage around. She was going to the palace. Luna didn't understand what her sister was doing. Sophia told her that His Majesty was lying. He was trying to send her to a safe place. But the carriage didn't turn around. When Sophia opened the carriage door, she found that there was a monster outside. Knights were fighting against the magical monsters. Luna noticed that the monster actually knew ice magic, so she told her sister to leave quickly. At this time, two mysterious figures appeared deep in the forest. A man raised his staff and used black magic, taking control of all the conscious knights. The knights approached Sophia and the others. Luna instantly raised an ice magic wall, strongly blocking the knights' attacks. But Luna neglected the fact that there were two magicians. One of them used the chill of ice magic to attack Sophia. Luna stepped forward to check on her sister's injuries. but was sent flying by a blast of magic. The mysterious figure in the distance brought Sophia under control. Luna guessed the mysterious person's identity and asked her father why he took her sister. "Is she not your daughter?" Her father told Luna that she was his only daughter. Luna told her father that if he thought that way, she would no longer acknowledge him as her father. Her father flew into a rage, never expecting that his only valued daughter would actually betray him. This time, Luna didn't use ice magic, but instead used highly offensive fire magic. The moment the two magics collided, Luna's magic seemed to gain the upper hand. Her father didn't expect Luna to actually know fire magic. At this moment, Luna recognized the other person. It was actually Hute. Hute told him to take Sophia and leave, while he stayed behind to hold off Luna. Seeing that they were about to leave, Luna intensified her fire magic and attacked them. However, Hute was very powerful and easily neutralized Luna's offensive. This made Luna feel powerless, thinking she was simply no match for him. Luna couldn't understand. Hute had previously told her to protect Sophia. Why was he taking her away now? Hute didn't offer much explanation, just telling her that they would meet again in the future. Luna couldn't figure out what Hute's purpose was in kidnapping her sister. On the other side, Carl wasn't idle. He held a meeting and announced to all the ministers that the owls were the ones spreading Iris and throwing the empire into chaos. He ordered all of them to be arrested and executed for treason. Afterward, Carl summoned the military forces of all the nobles to the capital. Marquis Rhodes left the palace to lead the army in a crusade against the owls. Later, Carl pushed open the door to Sophia's room and found on the bed that she hadn't taken the clothes and necklace he had given her. Carl thought she was still as willful as ever. At this moment, Carl heard Luna's voice outside the door. Luna found Carl and told him everything that had happened to her and her sister. Carl's heart tightened. Luna said that the leader of the owls came this time, and she couldn't save her sister with her own strength. Carl told her to come with him, as there were too many eyes and ears here. Carl then asked how she knew the leader of the owls. Luna recounted that she had been to their stronghold with her father. This made Carl very curious about where their stronghold was located. Luna explained that they had used a teleportation magic item to get there, so she didn't know the exact location either. Luna explained that she had wanted to track Hute, but found nothing there. After hearing this, Carl felt he had miscalculated, pushing Sophia into deep trouble. Luna comforted Carl, saying her sister should be fine for now. Suddenly, Luna remembered a piece of information about Hute and told Carl that Hute's hair was red. Carl knew and immediately suspected him. Sophia was shocked to discover that the man in front of her was actually Claude. Sophia didn't expect him to appear here. Sophia demanded to know why he kidnapped her. Claude told her it was with her father. Sophia asked if he was the leader of the owls. Claude told her that her intuition was really accurate. He told Sophia that no one knew what he looked like here. But no matter what identity he used, he was the leader of the owls. Sophia wanted to know what his purpose was for doing this. Claude told her that he wanted to destroy Carl. "If I kidnap you, Carl will definitely come looking. When he does, I'll throw your corpse in front of him." Sophia thought this guy was simply a madman. Sophia told him not to drag irrelevant people into this. Claude stated that he just loved her personality. "Doesn't Carl love you to death? You deeply love Carl too, right? If he knows you're here, Carl will definitely come. Because he loves you deeply, he'll throw away his own life to save you." Meanwhile, Carl brought Luna to a certain place. Carl knew that only here could he confirm if Claude was really that person. Thus, Luna followed Carl into a secret room. Carl asked Luna to shine a light on the vase in the middle. Luna could tell at a glance that this seemingly ordinary vase was actually a teleportation magic item. Carl noticed that the magic on it hadn't completely faded, realizing that the person had used this magic item to sneak into the palace. Carl now confirmed the person's true identity. Sophia didn't understand what caused him to have such a strong obsession with Carl. Claude didn't want to tell Sophia these things just yet. Sophia believed that his wicked deeds would lead to his own ruin, and he would definitely lose. Since he was from another world, he didn't understand the meaning of this phrase. She told him it meant that evildoers would eventually be brought to justice. This made Claude have to admit the provocative nature of this sentence. Thinking that Sophia still dared to run her mouth when death was at hand, Claude ruthlessly choked her. He told her that he didn't have any obsession with Carl. He just wanted to destroy him. Claude used black magic, preparing to erode her. Claude found it amazing, asking if she was truly a non-adapter. Being hit by black magic only made her feel pain. Claude thought she was really interesting, so Claude unleashed black magic right at her face. But the power of the black magic didn't harm Sophia. Instead, it drew her into the thoughts of her memories. the memories that had disappeared back then. Before she transmigrated, her father was very gentle. But after a business failure, he became someone who only knew how to drink every day. If her mother tried to stop him, he would hit her. Suddenly, one day, he abruptly left home. She could no longer remember why her father left. To be exact, the memory of what happened afterward had disappeared. The last time she saw him, he had become a corpse dead from a traffic accident. Now she remembered that memory hadn't disappeared. Rather, it was she who had kicked her father out to protect her mother. Her memory was cut off from that point on. She completely forgot that it was she who drove her father out, which ultimately led to him being hit and killed by a car. Because of overwhelming guilt, her brain automatically deleted that painful memory. Sophia knew the plot of the original novel. There is someone whose relationship with Carl was similar to her own situation. Waking up, Sophia knew that the person in front of her was not Claude, but he was very calm, thinking, so what if you know my true identity? What can you change? If Carl isn't stupid, he'll be here any minute. Just then, the iron gate outside the main entrance was blasted away. Carl had finally arrived. Claude had been waiting here for a long time. He then sealed the iron gate with black magic. Sophia shouted, telling Carl to get out of there. The reason Sophia was so agitated was that in the original novel, upon learning that his brother was actually the leader of the Owls, Carl became extremely emotional, which ultimately led to his corruption, turning him into the tyrant from the original story. So Sophia wanted to prevent this from happening. Carl comforted Sophia, telling her not to worry. He knew the whole course of events, and right in front of Claude, he revealed his true identity, Mattia. When Carl was 8 and Mattia was 13, Carl, having lost his mother, went to his brother's room to look for him almost every day. Young Carl didn't know his mother had died. He only felt that his mother's expression was scary and that she lay motionless. Back then, Mattia and Carl had a great relationship, and Mattia comforted young Carl. When Mattia underwent magic training, Carl would wait for him outside until his training was over. But the conflict between the Bloodline faction and the Orthodox faction gradually created a rift between these two half-brothers. And the magic book Mattia discovered when he was 18 accelerated their split. It was a forbidden book recording taboo magic, which even magicians referred to as black magic. Mattia ultimately learned black magic, and the great upheaval of the Marseille Empire started from then on. Carl and Mattia were also coerced by the drastic changes of fate, ultimately heading towards an irreversible situation. Claude didn't expect this younger brother to know in advance that he was still alive. Such a Carl greatly exceeded his expectations. So he formally introduced himself. He was Hute, the leader of the Owls, and also the envoy of the Delphiri Republic. All of this is to destroy you and take the Empire for myself. Carl told him, didn't you know that not only am I weak, but I also have no ambition for the Empire? That was indeed the case before, but you've become stronger. Not just stronger, but strong enough to break free from despair. Carl told him that the reason he became stronger was because he had someone he truly cherished. Claude, that didn't expect that this lowly, insignificant woman would be so important to him, even making him willing to risk his life to save her. Carl answered him with a firm voice from deep within his heart. Carl was very confused, asking him, you plan to use Sophia to destroy me. So why did you wait until now to act? Claude told him that doing it earlier would have had the opposite effect. He then used black magic to knock Sophia unconscious. Seeing this, Carl tried to break open the iron gate. Claude told him not to move recklessly, as being so impatient might bring forward her death. Carl told him to let Sophia go first, as this matter had nothing to do with her. Claude didn't answer Carl, but instead told him a truth. Do you know why the Marseille Empire suddenly became powerful? It's because of the magical monsters. Monsters that even sword saints can't deal with. Although knights couldn't do it, magicians could eliminate them. For the people who thought humanity was going to perish, magicians were the saviors of mankind. And for the magicians of a small principality, the appearance of magical monsters was actually a fortunate event. The Grand Duke of the Principality, who was also the first emperor of the Marseille Empire, was the creator of the magical monsters. Carl found it hard to believe when he heard such a thing. Claude mocked inwardly that the Principality had actually grown into an empire just like this. In fact, Carl also found it a bit strange, but he had to believe that what his brother said was probably not a fabricated lie. So Carl asked him, did Father perceive your thoughts? Is that why he left a dying wish for me to become the emperor? You want to use black magic to create magical monsters, don't you? Claude didn't deny it and explained that Iris was the device that allowed magic to activate. Carl thought he was insane to actually want to use magic to create magical monsters. Claude believed that if the first emperor could do it, why couldn't he? Besides that, there was one more thing. The target required to activate the black magic was a non-adapter. In other words, Sophia. Claude told him there was something people didn't know. He told Carl that Iris was a liquid formed after his own blood fused with magic power. As long as I activate black magic, the non-adapters who drank the magic power of Iris will all turn into magical monsters. Carl learned that those magical monsters were all the Grand Duke's subjects. Claude considered them to be nothing more than necessary sacrifices, but he didn't want his father's efforts to be in vain. Carl was unaware that their father had passed away. What did he want to prove? At this moment, Claude held Iris in his mouth. He fed the Iris from his mouth to Sophia. Carl immediately chopped open the iron gate and grabbed Claude by the neck. But Claude was determined to die, telling Carl to do it immediately. Meanwhile, the Marquis arrived at the Magic Tower. He guessed that the Magic Tower was the Owl Stronghold. As Marseille grew into an empire, magic towers were built everywhere to block monster attacks. But since the monsters suddenly disappeared, people no longer needed the magic towers. Eventually, except for the Magic Academy, all the magic towers in the Empire were dismantled, and the first one to be dismantled was the Marseille Magic Tower here. The reason Rhodes suspected their stronghold was here was because the Marseille Magic Tower had a special symbolic meaning. The Marseille Magic Tower was the first magic tower ordered to be built by the first emperor before he ascended the throne. Suddenly, his magic wand began to react. Then Luna found the Marquis and told him everything that had happened. She also told him that His Majesty had found a magic item beneath the magic tower, which seemed to have teleported him to their stronghold. The Marquis wanted to know where the stronghold was. Luna told him it was beneath the Red Tower. The Imperial Palace was full of secret rooms and passages known only to the royal family. Perhaps the underground of the Red Tower was one of these secret places. The Marquis asked Luna if His Majesty had shown any unusual behavior. Luna told the Marquis that His Majesty was not devastated, but rather very calm, like a knight heading to the battlefield. Upon hearing this, the Marquis immediately set off for the underground of the Red Tower. Claude was still provoking Carl. He asked him if he wasn't angry. His only brother was now planning to turn the woman he loved into a monster. These words successfully enraged Carl. Sophia shouted for Carl to stop. This prevented Carl from causing a disaster. Claude was shocked to see that Sophia was completely fine after drinking his Iris. While Carl was stunned, Claude tried to sneak attack Carl, but was sent flying by a powerful blast of magic. Sophia warned him not to move. This powerful force was somewhat uncontrollable for her. She told Carl she was fine and believed they couldn't kill him yet. Even if he hated him so much, he was still his brother. This reminded Carl that the person in front of him was his only close relative in this world. Sophia told Carl that his brother's lifespan was running out. Claude had to admire Sophia for knowing even this. Sophia told him it wasn't hard to figure out. And don't think everything will be fine just by switching bodies after you die. The life force currently in your body is no longer enough to support such an act. Seeing that his secrets were fully exposed, Claude used reverse psychology to get them to kill him. He said they would definitely regret it otherwise. But when Sophia told him that he would be the one regretting it, this confused Claude. Sophia told him that the wrongdoings against Carl were not what he truly wanted. Claude hesitantly told Sophia that he didn't regret it. Sophia spoke Claude's true thoughts. You didn't want to take revenge on His Majesty. You just wanted to take revenge on this empire that brought trouble to your family. Claude found it hard to believe that his secrets were completely laid bare before this woman. All of this was judged by Sophia based on the original novel and the current situation. Carl told Mattia to stop here, believing he still had to take responsibility for what he had done. Carl looked at his brother with a melancholy expression and told him, "You are not the one who killed our father and the Empress." Claude told Carl that he was still the same as before, completely unchanged, a truly hopeless, foolish younger brother. After saying this, a red magic circle appeared beneath Claude. Under the gaze of Carl and Sophia, Claude disappeared before them. At this time, the entire Red Tower was at risk of collapsing. Carl took the weakened Sophia and fled to the main door, only to find that no matter how much he hacked at it, the door wouldn't budge. Someone was using black magic to make the giant rocks above them collapse. In the nick of time, Luna and the others finally arrived and saved them. Seeing his daughter still fighting against him, the Count tried to persuade her to join them. Karl told him, "Your master abandoned you," and ran away. But the Count thought he was speaking nonsense. Luna tried to persuade her father to stop. However, the Count did not intend to give up and was determined to kill Sophia. Since he couldn't be reasoned with, they decided to speak in a way he could understand. A strike from Marquis Rhodes knocked him out cold. Finally, the main force arrived and began to clear out the remnants here. Afterward, Karl ordered them to mobilize all the magicians and knights in the Imperial Palace to confiscate all the iris. Any families that had assisted the Owls would be stripped of their noble titles. The masterminds of the incident were to be locked in the magical prison, never to be released. When some ministers thought the punishment might be too severe, Karl fiercely rebuked them. The ministers had no choice but to respect the emperor's orders. Karl settled the matters here. Afterward, he went to see someone. Karl found it hard to imagine that things would have gone so smoothly if it weren't for Sophia. Karl felt very fortunate to have met Sophia, so he kissed her forehead. Just as Karl said goodbye and was about to leave, Sophia woke up and called out to him. Karl hugged her excitedly, and the two shared a passionate kiss. Karl angrily pinched her cheek, telling her not to do anything foolish next time. Sophia could only obediently admit her mistake now. Later, Rhodes found Karl. He pointed out that Sophia was clearly a magic non-adapter, yet she had no reaction when hit by black magic. The butterfly from before was not just a normal magic afterimage, but an advanced mental magic that would be difficult even for a great magician. Therefore, Rhodes believed that Sophia was not just a simple magic non-adapter. He thought she would become a more powerful magician than himself. Afterward, Karl asked Rhodes to first improve the situation for non-adapters. Karl also mentioned that since Luna was now a commoner, she should be his assistant. Rhodes understood Karl's meaning. He saw Luna as someone who could become his sister-in-law, which is why he took such good care of her. In Karl's eyes, no family member could be left behind. Upon learning of this, Luna didn't rush to the Imperial Palace. She planned to go see someone in a wooden cabin. The person who opened the door was actually Hute, also known as Claude. Luna didn't expect someone like him to be the leader of the Owls. The reason Luna sought him out was because something was still bothering her. That was why he didn't kill her that day, even though he clearly could have. Hugh told Luna it was because she was 18. Her age simply reminded him of his younger brother. Hugh thought she was about to leave. Luna said this was a parting gift and hoped he wouldn't refuse. Luna used her magic to heal his injuries, telling him that this was all she could do. Hugh felt a long-lost warmth from Luna. Karl called Sophia to his room in the middle of the night, but Sophia showed a look of terror because the room was filled with candles. Sophia knew that the person in front of her right now was not Karl, but Predley. Predley did not deny it. He asked Sophia to sit closer, expressing that he wanted to chat with her this time. After what happened last time, Sophia still had lingering fears. Predley didn't force her. Instead, he recounted that when Karl was 12, the Empress saw Karl taking a walk alone. So, she kindly offered to take him for a walk together. But who could have known that her superficial smile was nothing but a carefully orchestrated plot? Every day after that, the Empress always took Karl to the Red Tower. Mattia knew about this and questioned his mother why she did it, accidentally pushing her down the stairs. Just like that, the Empress died right in front of them. Predley explained that because Karl couldn't tell anyone about this sense of guilt, he could only bear it silently. That's why I was born, because he has constantly blamed himself for the deaths of the Empress and his brother. The guilt over the past and the fear born from those memories eventually created him and me. How pitiful. Predley asked Sophia, "You like this guy, right?" Predley told Sophia that tonight was the last glass of wine. He no longer needs me to relieve his stress because he has you. Sophia stated that she would work hard to protect him. Predley cupped her face and told Sophia, "If it's you, it seems I can rest assured." After that, he fell into an eternal slumber within Karl's body. When Karl woke up, he excitedly hugged her. Karl woke up to find Sophia with tears in her eyes. Sophia said they were tears of joy. Karl knew that these tears were shed for Predley. Sophia looked at the jealous Karl, feeling a bit at a loss. Later, in front of the ministers, Karl announced that Sophia would be crowned empress. Some ministers argued that the empress had to be a noble. In fact, Karl was already prepared. Rhodes solemnly told them that Sophia had officially changed her name to Sophia de Rhodes. As the adopted daughter of the Rhodes family, she was naturally a noble. The ministers stood up one after another to congratulate His Majesty on crowning the Empress. That night, Karl found Sophia and brought her to the surprise he had prepared. What caught her was actually fine wine and delicious food. Sophia didn't understand why he wanted to drink. Carl told her that just thinking about her drinking with Predley made him angry. Sophia told him that Predley wasn't that bad. He just wanted to protect him. Carl thought Sophia was just speaking up for him. Sophia explained that Predley was just the cruel and selfish side in one's heart that couldn't be spoken to anyone. Sophia told Carl, "Predley can't take away what's truly important, and that is my heart which loves your majesty." Hearing this, Carl picked Sophia up and walked toward the bed. He held her hand and placed it on his chest, telling her that this was his answer. Carl told her that he would completely lock Sophia in his castle, even if it was to protect her. The two finally fulfilled each other's desires that night. Afterward, Luna became Marquis Rhodes's apprentice. Carl also specially arranged a private laboratory for her, and even made Luna a professor at the Magic Academy. She came to see Sophia this time because she said she had found a magic that could restore her sister's magical powers. Luna told her sister that it was said magic non-adapters lost their magic because they experienced magical changes during childhood. Sophia was still a bit worried. At this moment, Luna waved the magic wand in her hand. A blinding flash of light swept past. Carl, who was beside them, was unexpectedly affected by Luna's magic, causing his body to revert to his childhood self. Seeing this scene, Luna and Sophia were at a loss for a moment. But Sophia was very excited, not expecting Carl to be so cute as a child. Carl told her to stop it and asked Luna if there was a solution. Luna said this was her first time using this magic and planned to go back and study it to see if he could be restored to normal. Sophia said, "Am I going to live with such a cute majesty?" At this time, Carl was overcome with sleepiness, so he fell asleep in Sophia's arms. But the more Sophia looked at him, the more she liked him. Luna reminded her sister, "If His Majesty stays like this, what about the wedding ceremony next month?" These words successfully awakened Sophia, so she decided to invite their father to resolve the matter. The Marquis looked at the cute majesty in front of him, also very confused. Sophia asked her father, what if other nobles come looking for him later? Her father suggested they use the excuse that His Majesty had gone out for an investigation to fend them off, while he would try to find a way to turn His Majesty back. Later, the Marquis and Luna developed an antidote and fed it to His Majesty. This caused Carl to develop a high fever, which made Sophia, who was beside him, somewhat panicked. So she hurriedly contacted Luna and the others. Luna used magic to examine Carl's body and told her sister that as soon as the high fever subsided, His Majesty would quickly return to normal. That night, Carl suddenly opened his eyes and found that he had indeed changed back. He noticed that Sophia had been staying by his side the whole time, inseparable. So he kissed her without hesitation. Seeing Carl awake, Sophia was about to tell her father and the others. But Carl pulled Sophia back. "Don't you like cute children? I'll fulfill your wish tonight."